pop in here. Who knows? You never know. Anyway, this is my all-star trade of the day, so I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. I know Joe and I were going to try and do a tutorial earlier this afternoon, but we missed that. So Jonathan and James, if you hear Joe and I just chit-chatting away, it's because we kind of planned that we were going to get together here tonight. But by all means, Jonathan and James, if you have any questions, comments, just chime in.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. Usually we do the coinage shows every second Wednesday. So I sitting here with nothing to do tonight, and I was like, what the hell? Why don't we try and do a group hangout? Hey, James, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Hey, there he is.
I need as much help as I can get because I'm, like, my stuff is just ridiculous right now.
So I think this is sort of the same thing in class, Joe. I can barely see you. I don't know whether it's a lighting issue or you just are incognito, but it's tough for me to actually see you.
Yeah, it's probably a lighting issue, and yeah, I'm just a chocolate bear. Chocolate bear at nighttime.
We got Dav. I see Dav in glorious Technicolor every day. So you can't use your race as a disguise.
Darn.
Dav, I love Dav, man. I think also too Sean. Yeah, I think Sean is in the Monday program. He's in LA. Where are you?
I'm in Idaho.
Idaho, that's right. I remember. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. So anyway, nice to finally chat with you. I apologize I couldn't get together with you earlier. But anyway,
no problem.
Here we are now. We are recording this, so we can watch anything and everything back later on if you want. So if you have any questions or anything, just really, did you watch the class back again?
Yes, I did.
All right, and did you watch the introductory videos and stuff? Same thing with you.
Yeah. I actually watched the Monday class.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was like, what am I doing? So it really wasn't that bad when I missed half the class this morning because I went back and watched the Monday thing.
Where do we have you?
You put me on Mondays first. But I was supposed to be on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So I think you finally got me switched to Wednesdays.
Okay, and then if we pop in, let's see what we got there. How do I do this? I have you. I think everybody. So here's Wednesday's class. Let's just see if you're in here. There you are, so you were able to get in there. And are you in here? Tom, Rob, Alexander, Scott, no, doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I'm up top.
Oh, yeah, Joe Howard. There you are there, yeah. Okay. So you can watch the Wednesday one if you want.
Okay, yeah, I went back and watched it again.
And I've just thrown it on the page, right? Your school page. They're just going to be listed right at the bottom here. Monday class, Wednesday's class. And as we go through, I'll just post them. Okay. Hey, there's the man of the hour. Hey, Dav. Nice to see you.
I can tell you, this is going to be one heck of a challenge for me. Like, oh my gosh, my head is like just split wide open right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is a lot of information. And the interesting thing here is that, just so that you understand, Joe, I mean, I don't know how motivated you are, but the two other guys sitting beside you, James and Dav, I hope you guys don't mind, but, they had a tough time the first go through of the level 1 themselves. And I have lots of people that literally take that level 1 a second time. And it's almost like the first time you go through it, it's just like, holy shit, this is information overload. And then the second time you go through it, I've had people tell me that, it's just, do you have an economics background or anything like that?
My background is kind of crazy. I've lived a really, really hard life. I've been in places that I shouldn't have been for years. I've had to recover. I've had to go back to school, had to, pretty much bring myself back up to par. And so it's, in and out. I self-learn a lot of things. A lot of things I just jump into and I just go for it.
Okay. So I think the short answer to that is no. Is that correct? You don't have a classic economics background.
I did a little bit of, you're going to think this is, probably a lot of people going to think this is crazy, but when I was down my first 2 years, I didn't have nothing to do. So I wanted to learn how to trade stocks. So I would get the paper every day and I would take this big notebook and I gave myself $5,000. And I would go out and pretend to buy these coins and write them down. And I spent 2 years like tracking prices and selling and buying and just recording and trying to learn how to trade, because I figured, hey, I want to be there one day. But then come to find out, I wasn't going to have the money to get into the stock market ever. So, I kind of put that to the side after a while. And then I ran into Bitcoin years later.
And what I would say, and I can hear myself there, I don't know if that's a volume issue. But that self-education, in my opinion, could be extremely valuable. So don't discount that. That's I guess the question is, you and I are going to have to sort of explore how we can leverage that experience of yours. I'm sure there's things that you picked up through that experience. Oh yeah, I remember when I saw this usually happen, then that usually happens.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing about how I got into Bitcoin. And well, first my friend in 2014 gave me 0.01 Bitcoin. I was like, hey, go on Bitcoin poker. They got a lot of poker and you can win money and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't know about Bitcoin. I don't know. And he taught me how to set up a wallet. He gave me the 0.01. And towards the winter of that year, he passed away.
Oh, no.
And me and him played online poker together for 5 years. Every poker site, you name it, we was smashing it. And I couldn't play poker for months. So March of last year, I started looking up Bitcoin, and I didn't know what to do with it. I really didn't. And finally, I started reading around. I got the coin desk. I started seeing exchanges, and I'm like, exchanges? Then I started finding out there was like altcoins, and I'm like, what the heck is that? So I started researching deeper, and that's when I found the Coinigy show. And after like the second Coinigy show, I think I was watching the charts one day and a light just came on. I seen a chart and it's like the chart just came out at me. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. And then I just went to exchange and I just started going. And oh my God, I'm 7 exchanges now, 130 different currencies. And I'm just out of control right now. And I don't know how to put it back in check. I am really out of control right now and don't know how to put it back in check.
Okay, so 7 different exchanges. Have you taken advantage of the Coinigy platform to try and sort of consolidate all of that information?
Yeah, I'm able to get 4 of my 7 exchanges. I'm going to start an 8th exchange next month, but 4 of my 7 exchanges is on Coinigy. The other 3 I can't get linked, because they don't have the option to link them accounts.
Why are you going to add another exchange?
I'm kind of a junkie, I guess you can say. I kind of turned into a coin junkie. And this new exchange, RawX, is a successor of MCM. I think, I'm not quite correct. He's a successor of another trading site that went down. And he did good on that site. He left on good terms. So I'm feeling real positive about this exchange, and I kind of want to toy around in it. Usually I watch an exchange for about at least a month before I put any money.
Well, it's interesting. I'm hearing actually very conflicting sort of picture in my mind. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, you're telling me that you want to try and clean things up, but at the same time, you're also telling me, but I'm going to be adding more. So,
Yeah,
I mean, the question I would have is, if you want to try and clean things up, why don't we just stop adding any more sort of new exchanges just for the time being?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I've been thinking about this for about a month.
I would be really curious because Dav is like monster altcoin player. I'd be really interested to see, what his comments about some of the exchanges that you're operating on. Me personally, I've got it limited to Bitterx, Polo, Yobit, and I don't even really have anything on Yobit, but I've got an account set up there for my trading my alts. So that's 3 for me. I think that's, and I've got like hundreds of 120, 130 different coins. So I think I've got my plate full enough. I'm just trying to figure out how and what do you have, like some money on this exchange, some money on that exchange, some money on that exchange?
Yeah, I try to split it up pretty evenly, but after the Evergreen coin breakout, everything, I was fine for a whole year. Like I wouldn't even sell from March to March. I didn't sell anything. Whenever I sold a coin, I would buy a different coin. I would not cash out for none at all. And then when this March hit, things just went like so crazy. Like it just went insane.
Do you take profits on any of these? And when you say you get out of one coin, what are you putting those assets into? Back into Bitcoin?
No. When I sell the coins for Bitcoin, I find another altcoin to buy. I find something low. I find something that might get me a quick double, or just something that looks interesting. Most exchanges, I set in my mind to try to have 1/3 of the coins in the exchange. So if it's got 100 coins, I want at least 30 of them, and I try to keep the best ones. Every month I go through a cleanup process where I go through all the ones that look kind of ugly and decide, is it going to come back? Is it not? Take a loss, keep walking.
So, I'd be curious, and really, what should happen here. I'm a big believer in this, so please don't be insulted by this, Joe. But I actually like to lean on other site members and get their input. So, Dav, do you want to come off mute? And I saw you added a comment about Bitter.
Yeah, I was on Bitter for a bit. I started adding.
I see you're off mute, but maybe you don't have a microphone hooked up, Dav. He's getting all excited, but he can't say anything. This must be so frustrating for him. So, oh, there he is. Are you going to feel like saying something, Dav?
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hello?
A little bit. I hear you a little bit.
Yeah, it must be a hardware. Yeah, maybe drop and pop back in, Dav. I don't know. I see other people are popping back in. Anyway.
When I started trading, I made a roadmap that I've been updating since I started.
Yeah.
And I stopped showing people because people thought it was insane and crazy, but I don't care about showing it anymore. I'm kind of more comfortable with it. But
So
I'll share it with you.
I'd be just curious, what is it you want to get out of this?
Really, my first thought when I started was I wanted to build a super portfolio. I want to start with Bitcoin. I want to make my money off of Bitcoin. And when I make enough money off of Bitcoin to stabilize and create a steady profit, I want to take that profit and get other investments, RAs, stocks, property. I want it all. And like that was just my mentality. That was my mentality right there. And I'm greedy and I want it all.
Dav, you want to take another stab at your audio?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's a little better.
Okay, yeah, I've increased the volume on the mic. Hopefully
Somebody said there was an earthquake in Chile or something.
There's always an earthquake in Chile.
So just no offense. Don't be offended, but let's list some of the exchanges that you're playing on, and let's get Dav's input.
Let's see. I'm doing Poloniex, which is one of my favorites. Big Tricks is one of my favorites.
Okay, slow down. So Polo, Dav, didn't you think there was some issues with Polo recently?
Yeah, with Polo, I noticed that what they said was they were down for 16 hours, and they blamed it on like the third party, a company, the hosting company basically had went down, and I'm like, okay, who's your hosting company? I'd like to see what other sites went down, right? Because like you gotta prove that this is something that some third party did it, but there was no way to prove that, so they could have been lying, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to reduce my exposure. If they had come out and said, hey, listen, you know what? Sorry for the downtime. It's all our fault, right? We're going to be working towards, making sure this doesn't happen again. Better, because if you can't prove that some third party caused the downtime, you have to take responsibility for it.
Right.
If you don't, right?
What's your plan, Dab, if Polo continues down this path? What are you going to do with your coins that you have over there?
Well, I've already reduced exposure by 50%, and I'll reduce it another 50% if they have another problem, which is not something that's clear out of their control or outside of something that, long as it's clear that whatever story they give, it's clear that it's true.
Yeah.
If they don't give a clear statement or an honest statement or something more of, okay, we're taking responsibility, we're going to be working towards making this better, right? I don't get that sense.
Do you see any similarity in their behavior to what we saw at Crapsy?
Oh, God.
Exactly like Cripsy, but at what's it called? The Bitfinex. This is the exact same behavior we saw at Bitfinex, where there was no responsibility taking for the downtimes in trading. It happened several times on Bitfinex, and I just slowly moved out. I had at one point 50 Bitcoins in Bitfinex, and I slowly moved it down to 25, right? Then 15, and then 5. And then I'm like, okay, you're done. When that big jump, remember when they had that big gap, Bitfinex gap at the top there? That was it. I was done. I was like, okay, I'm out.
So seriously,
Right?
Joe, not to interrupt, sorry, Dav. But, Joe, I think you could take a lesson from Dav. Dav deals in some serious money here, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if anything, if you don't mind, Dav, I almost would kind of like for you to maybe, if Joe is interested, maybe you two talk a little bit more about how you manage so many coins. Because I think you could help him, Dav, if you don't mind.
I would appreciate
Well, Coinigy, right, allows me to manage all those coins because
Can you move a coin from one exchange to another through Coinigy?
No, you can't. I don't have that. They don't have that set up, but they could do that. Their software is not set up for that, and even if it was, I wouldn't enable it.
Yeah, I don't even do the trading because I don't even do all of my trading on Coinigy because my whole point of having multiple exchanges was to keep them all separate just in case the thing. I started off on Cripsy.
Okay.
Thank God I was smart enough to start on a couple of other exchanges before it went down because I lost 15 currencies and over 0.5 Bitcoin.
Yeah. So
I recovered.
If anything, it's probably good that happened and it wasn't so bad of a hit. But you got to realize, and this is sort of why when you said, well, I'm on 7 exchanges right off the bat, I'm just like, oh boy. And some of these exchanges are real fly by night, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear Alex's comments about that Yobit, right? He's not overly impressed with them. So, that's the first thing that jumped out at me. And then, of course, there's the managing. If you can't have them all on that sort of Coinigy platform, it must be difficult. Are you working orders on all of these different coins?
I set it and forget it, and I walk away.
Yeah,
and whatever it is.
Now, as a stockbroker, and it was interesting, I even talked to somebody. Oh, sorry. What's up, Jonathan? Did you want to ask a question?
Oh, no. Just giving some love up to Patrick. He keeps getting
okay.
Patrick's having problems getting on.
Oh, okay. When I was a stockbroker, I had a lot of clients who literally said, "Yep, I'm going to buy everything." And as the whole market moved up, and I even had a tutorial earlier today with the exact same conversation where this guy basically bought all of the resource stocks and they all went up and set it and forget it. And then, unfortunately, 2008 came along and the whole damn market just fell apart and everything went right back down. My big worry for you guys is that people are going to assume that these cryptocurrencies are going to move up and stay up. There's no guarantees that they're going to stay up. In fact, you watched a lot of my trading, I hope. I force myself to take profits at appropriate levels.
Usually when I set my orders, I go for a half on a double off rip. That's the first thing I go for, offer. I want my money back off rip. After that, then I set my orders however, whatever, and if I see something funny, then I'll just drop everything and be like, bye.
And so the question I have for you is, do you have all of those 7 exchanges, all the open orders working? Is that manageable? Is that leading to your stress?
No, I don't even think about the open orders because usually when I check my sites every month, I usually buy the same amount every time, 0.01. That's my phase 1, 0.01. Once I get all the coins I want in 0.01, then I go to 0.1. I'll start moving my way up to 0.1 on all the coins I want. So everything's pretty much the same until it blows out of proportion.
And the problem is 1 or 2 coins take off like a rocket, and statistically everything's thrown out of whack? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I lose sight on everything else. And I'm going to show you an example right here. If I can get my screen share up. Like I said, this has been a journey, and I started from 0.01, and it's just driving me insane right now.
Okay, I'm
Can
looking.
you see that?
Okay. So your equity curve went up dramatically and then came almost right back to the beginning, eh?
But that's because I got stupid. Around this time right here was the hemp coin blowout. I got like maybe 7 Bitcoins off of it. And then I started cashing out. I drug myself back to the bottom. Right here is the evergreen coin blowout. And oh my gosh, I got so many coins off of that I can't even count it right now. I sought off on 4 different exchanges on this coin. And I'm talking about multiple Bitcoin on each exchange. And again, down. I started cashing. I cashed out 11 Bitcoin this year.
So I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here. So you are trading?
Yes, I am actively trading on all these
sites
I have.
When you say that you're cashing out, what does that mean? You're taking the assets right out of crypto?
I'm taking the Bitcoin and I'm trading them in for US dollars, and I'm paying my bills, and I'm moving, and a lot of financial issues hit around this point, and I didn't want to cash out because if I didn't cash out right now, I would have like 16 Bitcoin in my portfolio. But financially, the way I was set right now, I had no choice. I'm in a 3-bedroom house by myself. My wife left me 2 months ago. Everything was going to heck, and Bitcoin was, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, I would be out in the streets in a paper bag right now. Like 2 months ago.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like very grateful I found this. Like, this has saved my life this whole year. And I work a 40-hour job and still couldn't keep up with bills and finances. This has like helped me so much. I can't, it's gotten out of control.
What is it that's gotten out of
Look at
control?
EGC. I had EGC was like this, like all the rest of these, and then all of a sudden it took over my whole. It had like, I think last month it had like 80% of my portfolio. And then finally I knocked it back.
I mean, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe the other guys in the room can help. I don't understand what the problem is.
He's not saying how to control in a negative way, in a positive way.
Okay. So, you know, I mean, again, Joe, I know we were going to do this as a one-on-one. We got the whole clan here chiming in. So
Hey,
I appreciate your candor in the group size. I'm trying to understand how this is a problem. In that, I mean, the only thing I would do differently is I would be just spoon feeding the market the coins as they started, you know, outperforming. And that's sort of what I do in the portfolio on the site, eh? It sounds to me like a coin goes nuts and it throws all your statistics out of whack. And
I was a thing. And then one day I had like 20 sell orders at one time, like randomly, just different coins started going crazy. Yeah. And I had like 20 sell orders by the time it was over with. And I'm like, what the heck do I do now? You know, how am I supposed to keep track of all this? And class this morning really helped me because you gave me the journal. Good. Where I can log every trade, and it's working so far. I had 3 trades this morning, and it's working so far. But I'm like, okay, what if I hit that day where I have 20 again? Oh, that's a lot to log.
Well, it sounds to me like you're dealing with some serious money. You got yourself a full-time job, eh?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, at what point, how many Bitcoins do you need to make on a daily basis to outpace what you're doing 40-hour-a-week job?
Right now, last month I did my calculations, and I cashed out $9,200 worth of Bitcoin so far, and my job working 40 hours a week, I brought home 8,400. So Bitcoin is outperforming right now.
Right. But you telling me 7 months? What are you driving?
Huh?
You got a couple of hookers in the stable you got to maintain?
Well,
what lifestyle are you living, man?
I got a house I got to pay for by myself now. I got child support on one child. Might have child support on. I might have to go get her. I'm not sure. I might have to go get my youngest next month. So I have 3 children.
Okay.
I have 3 little girls.
I mean, it almost sounds to me like maybe what you need to do is hire an accountant.
Yeah.
If you can't make 17 G's a month, right? That's an annual income of 200 grand. Maybe we need to just sort of, you know, clean up the balance sheet a little bit.
No, that was for the whole year.
Oh, okay.
That was for the year. That was the total for the whole year.
Oh, okay.
For so far for the year, I've brought in $9,000 cash from Bitcoin, and I brought in 8,000 cash take home pay this year so far for my job.
Oh, okay.
So
you said that was your monthly.
My Bitcoin is outperforming by like $1,000 right now.
Okay, well, and as you said earlier, Bitcoin's kind of saved your ass this year, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, you know, if anything, you know, thank the powers that be that Bitcoin was brought into your life, right? I guess the question here is, and I'm almost hearing like almost a bit of regret that you had to cash out to pay for your life, eh?
Big regret. If you looked at my roadmap, I totally destroyed my roadmap. I was on point for a whole year.
Yeah.
And that hit right there I was expecting to have 28 Bitcoin by next December. I would have been at 16 right now. I would have been 12 away.
Yeah. Well, and if anything, this is a lesson in life, dude. You know, and especially since you're a dad. I'm a single father of a son with severe autism. So, you know, you and I could chat a little bit about the shitty of life, right? I mean,
yeah, my last wife that I was married to for 6 years, she had a son. He's 7 now. I've been taking care of him since he was 6 months old. He has autism, and he has NF1 neurofibromatosis.
All right. So the bottom line here is life sucks, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. And the more money you make, the more bill collectors come grabbing at you.
Okay. I mean, we can deal with that. I mean, but the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, I'm not going to sit here and second guess what's happened in the past because just shit, you know, life happens, right? I mean, fuck it. You got. In fact, I think in class today I was joking with. I said, you know, if it's in this life, if you don't laugh, it's going to make you cry, right? So you might as well laugh and enjoy it, because the only alternative is to just get really depressed, eh? If anything, hats off to you. I commend you. I don't know you from Adam, but already I'm liking the type of person that I'm hearing, that you are honorable and stepping up and, you know, being a man. So, you know, hats off to you. If anything, maybe what you need is just a little bit of positive affirmation that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and then I got a lot of stuff going on too. Not only the Bitcoin, the full-time job, but beginning of this year, I ran into a developer by the name of Steven Saxton. He's the developer of Evergreen Coin, and me and him kicked it off good. And he started teaching me how to do wallets. I know how to reseek wallets now. I know how to do just about everything with wallets now, online, offline. He's slowly teaching me how to make my own coin. It's been, and I help him in a community, doing various things. I make YouTube videos on certain coins. I make YouTube videos on a lot of stuff. You know, and I'm really, he's actually a developer of 4 coins, and I commend him because I can't understand how he runs 4 coins and he can still stay in control. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, Dav's a developer, and he works with some names, and we've also got him in our little pump group as our sort of conduit between our little pump coin. So again, I got a funny feeling you and Dav might get along really, really well. You know.
I guess so too.
Any thoughts, Dav? Does it sound familiar?
I work for Altcoin right now. We're still working away on the thing, but you know, it's on one exchange right now, CCEX, and on Bittrex. It's one of those coins that are like what's it called? That are KYC compliant and stuff like that, and you know, all the government regulations. If you own the coin, you have to know. You have to know who you are in order for you to own the coin, and also all transactions are monitored, and so they can roll it back and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't agree with the philosophy of the coin, but I don't need to in order for me to work for them. And
are you familiar with the developer Joe made reference to, Dav?
No, I'm not.
Which coin? Oh, Evergreen Coin. He does Evergreen Coin, Donation Coin, Burn Cash, and Sterling Coin.
Sterling, I think I got some of that.
Sterling.
Oh, yeah.
Is that SLG?
That's I think it is SLG.
All right. So now I got somebody to bitch to.
I can see it being.
What are you guys doing over there?
I can see it being silent for a while, but that div, like around April, Evergreen Coin had a fork, and it was such a big fork that, I mean, I've been buying coins for a lot. I watch the forums a lot. Like, I research every coin. I read up on every coin if I can. And, like, I've never seen a dev fight so much to make sure that this issue got corrected. And I knew when it got corrected, I was buying at 200 sat. And I'm like, you know what? When he does come out of it, my first sell order is at 10,000 sat. Lo and behold, it hit 75,000 sat, and I was just rolling in dough. Now I'm reloading.
Okay. So on balance, and this is just my observation, just listening. We start off the conversation with, "Oh my God, it's an absolute disaster." But when we start picking it apart, what I'm hearing is it's just maybe just a little bit of information overload for you right now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a disaster.
No, because I'm making money. I can't do that. But
Right. So, and if anything, what I'm hearing is, the job isn't meeting those basic needs. And unfortunately, when it comes to trading and making money from trading, that's a big problem.
yeah, it's not consistent enough for me to say, "Hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice in. See ya."
Well, yeah, I mean, you're trying to do something that's actually really difficult. And so because your income isn't meeting those basic needs, it's injecting a lot of anxiety into your life. And as you sort of had pointed out, gee whiz, if I just left the portfolio alone, just let it do its thing, I would be much, much further ahead, right? So, I don't think you can beat yourself up. That's just the way life is, right? Shit happens. If anything, I have to commend you that you're able to hold it all together as well as you have, and you actually, and I'm a big believer in the higher powers. I never used to be really that big of a believer in the afterlife and all that until my wife passed, and then since she's passed, I've seen things that I just can't explain without understanding that there's something going on the other side. So, if anything, what I'm hearing, and this is just the mystic of Brian because he's such a weirdo, I'm almost hearing like maybe somebody on the other side is helping you out. They see that you're being a man, you're stepping up to the plate, you're doing the right thing, you're not shirking your responsibility, and somebody upstairs is cutting you a break with your exposure to crypto. So hats off to you. Just hang in there. And really, I think all I'm hearing is this is just an organizational issue for you than anything else. I might wonder, when one of these coins goes crazy, are you able to liquidate enough at these upper levels, or do you have to just start hitting a bit down to get your fills?
No, what?
Did you hear anything I just said there?
I heard part of it.
Well, when you're, you have a coin that goes crazy, it throws your whole account out of whack. Are you just slowly, do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy to liquidate those coins when they go nuts?
Yeah, usually my plan before I started, being stupid was to take half of what I get and put into other coins, the other half take and put either cash out, pay bills, or put into other investments, such as my solar miner. I'm working on a solar miner with Evergreen coin right now. I'm also working on a solar power wall. So I can mine Bitcoin or whatever coin I want off of solar energy.
Okay. But, you showed your portfolio. You had one coin that's gone absolutely nuts, and it's thrown the whole portfolio out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, for you, and it sounds to me like this is what we need to sort of concentrate on, is it sounds to me like you need to build a plan on how to try and capture as much of this when these one particular coin throws your entire portfolio out of whack.
Yeah.
Am I getting closer?
Yeah, exactly. Like on an Evergreen, usually when it goes out crazy like that, I'm usually popping off everything, and then when it gets to the top, I'm letting go of it all. But with Evergreen coin, I sold half of it because I see a return. I see something big within the next year and a half, and 75,000 sat is not even breaking the ice on that coin. So I'm holding deep on that one. I'm also staking on different offline wallets, including my solar wallet.
Okay, so you guys, what are you guys all chatting about? What are you guys up to? EGC? Is that what you guys are getting interested in here? Sorry, Joe, these guys are all chatting around us. I'm trying to figure out what the hell they're up to.
All right, EGC is
Let's see. Well, it's not a bad looking little name. I wouldn't have a problem, accumulating that thing down here.
Yeah, I got my fills on it. I'm just waiting. It finally got back down to that point where it's safe to buy now. I feel like it's safe to buy now.
Yeah, and really that's the irony of all this, Joe, is that I guess you have learned firsthand about the potential capital appreciation. And there's a shitload of money to be made in these markets. So if anything, I guess what I'm hearing is we just need to inject a little bit more organization into your life and maybe come up with a plan on, what I've found is that if you create a plan and you just follow the plan, then a lot of anxiety around this whole management process disappears, right? You're just following a business plan. So that's sort of my input. That would be my advice. And then the second thing I might say is, if the data crunching just gets too big, maybe hire somebody, right? Pay them a couple $100. Are any of your kids teenagers?
One is a teenager now. She's going to be 16.
Right. Well, she might want to earn some money. Maybe dangle a carrot in front of her. Well, and also too, as an added bonus, right? You and her might build a closer relationship out of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, leverage the assets that you have around you to try and help you organize, right? And all it is just a simple thing, honey. Just can you go in and, just clean up the ledger, and after she's done the job, whoever, you just go back and just sort of manually review just to make sure that everything's, tickety-boo. But that might help you to a certain degree. I don't know. Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking right away. And then, the second thing is and really maybe leverage these evergreen people and stuff. Maybe there is I don't know how long it's going to take for you to get a solar miner up to the point where it's mining enough Bitcoin to equal your sort of, your work pay. But explore how you can try and get that income in your life up to the point where it just at least is enough to pay your bills.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That's just because the problem is that they have an old adage in the market, right? Scared money is dead money. And in the course, I talk about Nebraska going and buying a $1 million home in the suburbs of Chicago. And then all of a sudden he came back to work the following Monday and he couldn't trade like shit. And he couldn't figure out why. And he actually had to go to a psychologist to figure out that the reason why his trading went to shit was because he had to make a $5,000 a month mortgage payment kind of thing. So, those short-term income issues, they're totally separate to trading. But because we are humans and we're subject to this psychology, it can play a huge impact on our trading, which sucks. And resentment, bitterness, whatever around that issue might creep in and be a part of this sort of sense of frustration and confusion and anger and angst that you're feeling. And you kind of look at your altcoins and you go, well, why am I feeling so stressed? These things are just doing wonderfully well. Well, it's not really the altcoins that's the issue. It's something else in your life.
Yeah, and I know it's not lost because I started from 2 points. So loss to me is like if I lose on a coin, oh well, I'm still ahead. I can't lose.
Well, the great part about this, right, is, you can have like a good 20-30% of your names go belly up. But because we have so many doubles and triples and quadruples, it can easily offset that.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask, is it illegal to trade on OKCoin or is it illegal to have OKCoin, period?
Well, it's an issue with American citizenship and the New York bit licensing, right? So literally in the United States of America, they say to its citizens, you cannot legally have an account there because they don't meet our reporting requirements.
Oh, but I can have the coin itself.
The OK coin. Is there an OK coin? I didn't even know there was
Oh
one.
yeah, I've been holding on to it for a while. It's on Blue Trade, as far as I know.
So there's another esoteric exchange that I have never even dared to touch. What do you think of that blue, Dav? And actually, Steven's here too. Steven dabbles a lot too. Nice to see you, Steven. I've opened the window for you, Steven. Say hi to everybody.
Oh, they call it OK Cash is what it's called.
Oh, okay, cash. Okay.
I didn't get a fill again. I'm freaking.
Oh, did they tag your level?
It came right to my level and freaking not fill me again.
Don't you love that?
Just be patient. If they're going to take it up there multiple times, then obviously they want you to balk. Hey, did that make a new high?
No, these ones are not my trades. This is some other trade. But anyways.
But did it make a new high?
I don't know. Let's see. I got to go closer.
Nice to see you regardless, Stephen.
No.
Thanks.
Look at it. This is where my sell order's been forever. And it's just like, oh my God, take a look at that.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's amazing.
And what kind of size are your sell orders?
That was only 4 Bitcoins. It's nothing. It's
4 full Bitcoins? That's quite a bit for a little altcoin, isn't it?
No, but you see the volume on this is huge. I mean, people are stepping in with 10, 20 Bitcoins of sell orders right in front of me. Not on Bittrex, but it's supposed to be Bittrex. Just pulling on the X here, but why does it say pulling?
Dab, you still whining about the SJCX coin?
Yes, it is pulling. And I'm like crying here. I'm like, come on, give me goddamn fill.
Yeah, man, I swear I had the same problem. I missed a fill on that coin by just a few sats, like a few months ago.
I show it on Bitterix. It made a new high today.
Yeah, you're tormenting us.
I'm on Polonia X, is where my coins are.
All right. So, and you know that they're fucking around with the kids over there, right?
Yeah.
If Bitterix is making a new high, and I've done this chart for you before, right? I mean, really, I think this thing's going up here. And I just, they want you to balk. That's what I think they want you to do. They want you to panic and just say, oh, fucking dump it. I wouldn't be in a big hurry. Just leave it alone.
Yeah,
you're our all-star. You're just you want attention. You want everybody to go, oh, Dab, another double. Oh, you're the man.
But I haven't gotten a double in I don't know, 24 hours?
You
crackhead.
I did 3 of them today, and I was surprised because it's been quiet for a couple of days for me.
Yeah, then it comes and goes, right? So.
I'm so close to busting on my first double on Bitcoin. It's driving me nuts.
VIA? I think we got quite a few right now. Wow, that's a nice looking chart. Is that it right now? What is that? GEO. Oh, yeah, I just sold some of that GEO.
Yes. Double.
That was a nice, that's a nice trade. Look at that. Wait, I mean, can you guys appreciate what's happening here? Can you guys see my screens? Most of you new guys, you haven't been in the program long enough to understand this, but this is a really significant structural bottom down here, right? And we're just seeing this coin after coin after coin after coin. They're all coming in. So, ironically enough, Joe, with his sort of reluctance to actually sell, I honestly believe, man, I almost wish now that I've got all the coins on the books, it's almost in my best interest to probably just go to sleep for 5 years. Just come back and see what the hell's happened. Because I bet some of these coins are just going to go absolutely insane. But you can see the long-term basis being formed. It's happening as we speak.
Yeah, but it's better to get in and out, right?
Well, it's sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I try to over finesse things, and I end up, weaseling my way out of a really good story. And that's sort of one reason why I really like to sell half on a double kind of idea. So you're just always forced to stay in the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Half on a doubles up until I feel like I'm tired of halving on a double. And usually if it goes halfway up and I don't beat the rest of them orders, I just leave them there and wait for it to see if it comes back down to that original level, and I'll reload again.
Yeah.
And here we go again.
That IOC was a perfect example of that, right? I mean, really, IOC, I think, is almost telegraphing. I mean, do you see the similar action? Remember that Geo we were just looking at? We were saying, oh, look at the market structure, right? This is a coin that's now probably a year or two ahead of Geo. But really, this is what I expect out of a lot of these altcoins. And so just like you said, Joe, and I really patted myself on the back. I was so proud of myself to do this. But that's exactly what I did. And for any new people to the program, we were just selling the whole way up. And then as soon as it came right back down in the reload zone, we just loaded right back up. So we got like 2 cars. And actually, I missed another reload here on a third one. Look at that. What a pretty chart. Damn.
I've actually been doing one coin I've been doing that with the longest is Digibyte. I've been noticing.
So what do you think about all this diluting the shit out of these coins?
What? Huh?
What do you think about when these coins dilute the shit out of themselves?
Yeah, they do. The Digibyte. I noticed a pattern. It would go down to 50, and I noticed that I've hit it like 3 or 4 times last year and this time. It'll go down to 50. I'll load up on 50. It always hits 150 3 to 4 times a year, and sometimes even more than that. So every time I hit 150 and went back down, I reloaded. I still got orders up in 700s that I done booked every time I bought more coins. So the next time that 750 hits, I'm going to hit like 3 or 4 orders.
All right, well, I suppose there's worse things that can happen in life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all free money. I mean,
just my point. My question for you, I guess, was more sort of like your experience. This is the thing that bothers me about Digi.
I know.
That's a
too many
hell of a lot of coins.
Way too many coins.
Yeah, and I started watching Digi back here when it only had like 10, 20 million out, right? And then they switched from POW to POS, I guess it was, and they just diluted the shit out of the coin.
Yeah, well, I played their game, and because, like I said, I research coins a lot. I like to dig in and find out what's really going on behind the scenes, because sometimes the charts can't tell me everything. And I registered for the game. I played the game for a little bit, and I noticed that every time the spikes you see happen, it's when they're having their special in-game competitions and stuff like that, and everybody goes and buys these coins. Bam! And then it's over, and then
that's the kind of information I'd pay money for.
And then a couple months later, it happens again. Oh, hey, we're having this, and then it happens again. So I just been keeping reloading, keep my free coins up there. Because sooner or later, it's going to hit that big wick again, and I'm going to be looking lovely.
I just, like I said, with 7 billion coins, I mean, right now that thing's got a market cap of $2.5 million, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's got to be some serious buying to get this thing going. I mean, that doesn't mean it can't happen, but do you think that this Digi story's robust enough that it's going to survive?
Only if they do what they're talking about and coming out with a new game, with a second game. I think it's a League of Legends, or League of Angels is the game it was, that you can play and you can actually get Digibyte for playing it. And spend the Digibyte on like swords and special weapons and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so if they come out with this next game, and you know how some developers are, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it doesn't happen. So it's kind of like up in the air thing right now.
Looks like it's trying to base here, so yeah, very interesting. And do you know sort of a time window when they're planning on doing that next game?
Last time I looked, I thought he was going to try to do it before the end of the year, but I think that got backed up, and they kind of updated the game they have now. They did update to the game they had now instead of bringing out the new one, which actually made it spike pretty good. That was the last big spike.
This one here?
Yep, that one right there. That was that last big spike. And then they had a competition, and oh my gosh.
So it sounds to me like you're the kind of guy, you've got your ear to the ground. I think you'd be a good resource for us. So whether you like it or not, we're not going to let you go. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I'm all into coins, and I don't mind sharing the knowledge I learn on. So, I mean, some of the stuff I read is just amazing.
What's that coin, Joe? All right, so Jonathan's asking, we're talking about, you're talking about the one he just is mentioning right now?
Oh, Digibyte?
Yeah, this is Digibyte that I have on the screen here, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've been, me and Joe have been just dominating the conversation. Does anybody feel like throwing in their 2 cents?
Yes.
Dav, if you don't have 2 cents to throw in, I'll eat my hat.
I just put a stick bid on Digibyte right now.
There you go.
I won't touch it. I won't touch it unless it's under 50 cents. That's my rule for that coin right there.
Really? Wow. Well, it looks like it's definitely going to be. It's got like higher highs and higher lows here. So this thing looks like it wants.
You can easily do 50 and 100 doubles all day long with it. You know, just ride out.
50 looks like an interesting level here. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like.
Good for you guys. Well, there you go. So you've already we've already leveraged you, Joe. Thank you.
So I should short DGB?
I don't understand shorts.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't understand. I'm just giving.
You're just going out and borrowing the asset and selling it into the marketplace, right?
I'm just now understanding stops. Like, I didn't know what a stop was, and I was like, I got so many coins, if I lose.
Yeah, the problem with stops is that because these are unregulated markets, man, they really, sort of mess around with stop levels. So be careful with using stops on crypto. I've noticed
Poloniex started margin trading. I don't understand margin trading a bit, but there's something funny about that margin trading in Poloniex, and I'm feeling really uneasy about it. Like, I'm scared it's going to like tear apart the whole site eventually.
Well, these things they do have the potential to blow up. There's no doubt about that, right? You're dealing with leverage here. So, and Dav sort of told you about his concerns about Polo, so. It wouldn't be shocking if it did run into problems. But I guess what I'm saying is, especially with these alts, the way that they're highly vulnerable to attacks. If you get I see just on this Digi, right? A day like this, I don't know that you can see this candle here. This looks to me like this was a stop run right here. All right. So I wouldn't, and I suppose if we look on Polo, that's where we're really going to see it. Actually, it's pretty clean trading. This was probably a stop run right there. Just clean out all any stops down below there. So if anything, if you're going to be thinking about that kind of trading on Polo, you almost even want to set up a setup that hunts for stops. So like this dump here, where it cleans through these lows, this is when you actually start getting interested. And ironically enough, this candle here is what's called an inside bar. So you get the fuck you, stop out, wash out all the weekends, and that sets the stage for the next bull. So, and that happens a lot on Polo. So you got to be cognizant of that. I don't know. Other than that, really, I agree. You know, the whole issue of margin interest that often overwhelms people, and they watch the margin interest being charged on a daily basis, and they get really frustrated. I always like to play from a position of strength. You don't really need to push. You know, from what it sounds like, your strategy is doing perfectly fine. Thank you very much. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
No.
I do like the idea of having the Polo margin available if you see a coin that's just gone nuts and you'd like to strap on some short. But I don't think there's any real need for you to go and massively leverage long yourself long just to take advantage of the margin.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents for whatever the hell it's worth.
Hey, Brian,
Yes?
I just had a question for you. It's more about these markets and the different exchanges kind of flirting with the big time. And when I see different, snippets come in like the Winklevoss twins and Bitcoin, and just seeing some of the games that are played on 1X and different exchanges where it's obviously manipulated and it's not following fundamentals like you're used to seeing when you trade crypto, as opposed to trading, whatever else is out there with different assets for corporations and whatnot. I mean, do you see, like, maybe in the next year or two where there's going to be a legitimate Wall Street crypto exchange and it kind of just screws the pooch and kind of takes the party down a few notches because they bring in those algorithms and different, like, buzzkills with the things that we don't want to deal with,
Well, and there's a number of moving parts there that you're mentioning. When we're playing in the altcoin market, you need to understand, Jonathan, this is just like the venture cap stock market. There really isn't a hell of a lot of difference. And we see just as much manipulation in these altcoin markets as we see on the, say, U.S. Bulletin Board exchange. Same thing, same shit, different pile. I was joking with someone today. Most Americans don't even realize this, right? If they ever buy any stock on the OTC market, the pink sheets, the bulletin board, they even say right on the disclosure statement that directors of these companies have no legal obligation to tell you the truth. They say it right on the front page of the website. So, and that's just very much like crypto. I mean, really, technically, none of these guys have to tell us the truth about any of this stuff. So I don't see much difference there. I think Bitcoin itself is trying to graduate into a sort of mature asset, moving away from sort of the venture cap side of things. And I wouldn't be surprised over time that, maybe if Litecoin can get its act together, Ethereum, if it doesn't blow itself up, Dash, right? The IO coin boys, right? There's almost like sort of like a mid-cap, sort of mid-level tier, the sort of second level of these coins. And that reminds me a lot of sort of like the mid-cap market. I don't know whether it was in this group. Maybe it was you, Jonathan, or you. No, I guess that was somebody else. But if you played any of the Canadian stock market through that bull run in the first part of the 2000s, a lot of the mid-cap, like I worked with a guy that took a 12-cent stock up to $3.50. And the big event was they got listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange from the Venture Exchange. And that was a big event in their lives.
Yeah.
And I could see a lot of these sort of mid-tier kind of companies do the same sort of thing. The IOs, the Dashes, right? The XMRs, all those kind of things, right? I think Bitcoin I think it's trying to sort of separate itself from the altcoin market in that regard. And the Bitcoiners kind of look down on the altcoin market with sort of, a bit of arrogance, right? I think when we talk Winklevosses, and there's another one. There's actually a few of them. GBTC, that's another one that trades an ETF. I'm waiting for one of these ETFs to actually trade on an actual major listed exchange. They're all sort of dancing around the issue. I think you kind of mentioned that, right? They're kind of all dancing around actually joining the big kids, right? And the stock market and the futures markets. My hunch is that by the time the end of this cycle comes, Bitcoin will be a listed futures contract, just like gold, silver, feeder cattle, broiler chickens, whatever. I don't think alts are going to get to that stage. I don't think. Not this cycle, I don't think. But I don't know. Did that help answer your question? I don't know.
Well,
I have been.
I'm sorry, Dad. It does, but it also makes me think of there's so many parties now involved because we have entered this new realm of world economy. That the U.S. is the center of the universe.
This is a whole industry.
So when
just like the aircraft industry, just like the automobile industry, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be a million different sort of spokes to this wheel.
Exactly. Like, you hear propaganda in the U.S. against Russia, but most Americans don't know that the Russian economy is actually blown up in certain things, and it's really kicking butt. And if you were invested in that the last few years, you made out like a bandit. But you wouldn't know that by following the media in the U.S. So it makes me think all these dynamics with crypto and the growing market and what's going to happen in Africa, what's going to happen in South America, what's going to happen in all these different markets that are not the center of the universe anymore because the center of the universe is kind of changing. So
you could argue we're opening up Pandora's box here, right? I think probably a lot of, and the irony of it all is that the Fed, and I know as soon as I say that word, Dav's going to start, his ears are going to start to burn here. The Fed, even over the past couple of years, has said, we're not quite sure how to look at this Bitcoin. We're still studying this because I think that the U.S. Fed sees the dramatic implications of what's coming on, and they're not quite sure what to make of this. It could be quite literally game-changing for all of this, and that's exactly what Dav wants, right? Okay, I know you wanted to say something earlier, Dav. What's on your mind?
Yeah, on the comment on that, I'm pretty sure that they're clueless because, when you hear them talk about, negative rates, right? You got to believe in it, right? You got to believe that you can fly. It's like Peter Pan. If you stop believing that you can fly, so they know, it's kind of like they know that it won't work, but they're going to do it anyways. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But they actually believe this. And so I think they are completely clueless to what Bitcoin is, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would imagine Janet's probably sitting there. She can't quite wrap her head around what a Bitcoin is. She's probably a very good example. God, you see me. I'm not really that old looking, and you saw my 1980s website, right? So if you can imagine somebody that's twice my age trying to wrap their head around Bitcoin, it's challenging, right? All right, what is Thomas? Hey, Thomas, is that our Thomas? I don't know, or are you someone that we don't know? All right, what did you say there, Thomas? I didn't see. He said, "Oh wow, you guys have been posting a lot here. I think they're more interested in the blockchain technology than Bitcoin itself." Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Have you heard of Zcoin yet?
Not me personally, Dav, Steven?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a coin that's coming out, I think, later towards the end of the year, and it's supposed to be controlled by banks.
Well, isn't that what Ripple was?
The top 11.
Wasn't Ripple the bank's coin?
Not sure.
No, Ripple is for interbank transfers. That's what they're using it for right now, actually.
Has anyone at TRI
Because,
gotten a double off Ripple?
Off what?
Ripple?
Nope.
XRP?
I don't think I have yet.
No, I don't think anybody has.
I've had that for a while too.
See where and this is a great thing. You can see, you can hold me to account here. What the hell's a symbol again?
like, when's Litecoin and Namecoin gonna freaking fly? You know,
Yeah, we've been waiting on those a while too, eh?
in Namecoin. You know that?
Yeah, in fact, didn't I go and buy some and I said I'm going to follow this along with you? Is that
Yeah.
coin? I can't remember. I remember we did that.
I actually gave you a bunch as a donation.
Yeah.
And you're like sitting on losses since I gave it to you.
Well, that's a good part about Little Old Lady is we don't have to sell.
I do have a question that somebody might be able to help me with.
Okay.
Last year I bought 2 different coins, and they both were rise only market coins. Well, I sought my first 2 sell orders, and then went through fine. But here we are, almost a year later, and I cannot set an order to save the life of me. Like, it will not let me set an order. And I put like 0.01 in this coin, and it's at 0.1 right now. And I would love to kind of like, get rid of that.
Is that Yobit?
Yeah, it's on Yobit. I got Yovi and I got Wealth.
So really,
And
is
both of them
that a function of the Yobit platform?
Well, when you set your trades, they'll only let you do 2 of them at a time. So once that first trade goes in, you can set the other trade. But when I went to set my next trades, it would not let me set an order. It kept giving me errors no matter what I did.
So I don't know. Dav, are you familiar with Yobit, or do you use that platform?
To transfer coins away from whenever they're like, delisted. So
Yeah, I usually use it for my junkyard.
Yeah, so I'm not really even that up to speed on Yobit, to be honest with you. I have an account there, but I haven't really even used it.
Yeah, I've been stuck with them coins for over a year now, almost a year now, and I'm like, wow, I got like 0.1 and can't even freaking get it.
I suppose you could probably transfer the coins to a different exchange if they're listed anywhere else.
Brian, can you
I
pull
think
up the
Yovi.
What?
Can you pull up the Mona chart? What's going on with that one?
Oh, it's another one that's a dog, eh?
Yeah,
This was supposed to be the Japanese one, right?
exactly.
Ugh, what a nightmare. This thing's ready to go. It's just a question of when. And really, that Ripple, I mean, really, it's the same sort of chart, right? I mean, these things, they're just sitting down. If anything, I noticed this as XRP, if we look at it on Polo, did you see this tail right down in here? So I don't know how low this goes, but that's basically where the market's just. But look at that. This, if anything, looks like I should be buying more. Son of a bitch.
Do you think the new coins coming out are kind of putting a damper that's doing the same things, are kind of putting a damper on older coins?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, I think somebody asked me the other day, do you see Bitcoin going to $10,000? And I was kind of like, well, I think I actually see crypto growing horizontally, not vertically, where we're just going to get more and more and more and more and more coins, right? And the market cap of crypto just grows horizontally rather than the price of any one particular asset just going just straight up. So really, the question I would have is, XRP, didn't they sort of declare that they didn't want to be a bank coin anymore, and they did sort of a big reorganization here recently? Do you guys remember that? That was about 3 or 4 months ago, I think.
Seriously?
So I would, definitely during sort of all that Ethereum nonsense, we totally saw all the other little altcoins, just nobody was interested in them at all during that.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the DAO fiasco happened, then all the other altcoins started to come back to life.
Yeah.
I think that's what stopped the Bitcoin pump was the DAO.
I think a big chunk of the after the auction rally, like on Bitcoin itself, I think a lot of these, especially like this action in here, I think this was a lot to do with that DAO. And you could argue that maybe even some of Bitcoin's price appreciation into the halving event may have been part of that Ethereum stuff. There's also talk too that part of that whole Ethereum stuff kind of took the wind out of the sales of the Bitcoin halving event.
Yeah, I expected it to be higher.
So, you probably heard me say, right, you can't write better fiction than reality. We just don't know what the hell's going to happen, and I bet nobody would have expected with that Ethereum was just an absolute disaster.
Heard.
What was that?
I got out at the right time, thank God.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. That was a mess. Wow. I mean, you couldn't have written a crazier story than that. And anytime I whip out that video of the Spanish guy, anytime you see, let's see if I can find it. And maybe it was.
Steven, do you know around what time that coin is coming out? Do you hear anything else about Zcash?
Yeah, I believe it's coming out. It's coming out pretty soon in the fall, like October, November.
I'm curious. I'm kind of scared, Brian, because if the bank has the coin, then they control the price, and that's kind of a little scary. But I kind of want to take a little nibble at it when it comes out.
Yeah, people are going to do what they want with their technology, but yeah, something to keep an eye on.
So you guys just don't have much interest in the broader stock market, eh? Is it? Oh, Thomas is here. Hey, let's talk a little bit about stock.
No, I do. I'm curious about moving from crypto into commodities one day. So if you could indulge, that would be awesome.
Well, unfortunately, I think crypto is a commodity. So you're kind of
The other commodities.
well,
Traditional commodities.
Yeah, so you're kind of just switching out of apples into a different type of apple. So I might be, if I'm looking for a top, then I'm going to probably be looking for a top in commodity prices as well. So that's my 2 cents. I know it's not a very popular sentiment, but I would expect gold, silver, and crypto to all top at the same time.
Like, do you think that the commodities in general, like for crypto aside, do you think the commodities in general are kind of price suppressed in their value just because of the whole debt kind of model with just currency and
Are you in the Monday class, right?
or not?
You're in the Monday class, or were you in today's class, Jonathan? I can't remember.
Oh, on Monday.
So have you watched the Creating the Strategist videos yet?
The first one, yes, and the bonds.
Okay, so I don't know whether you've gotten to money flows and demographics and all that, but we're coming up on a fairly significant fear-greed cycle pivot. And so as a result, we should be expecting commodity prices to peak into that event, and we should be expecting growth assets to trough. So, it shouldn't have surprised us to see over the past 50 years commodity assets have done fairly well. And also, too, if you go back and you look at your gold chart in the late 70s, what's interesting is gold prices topped out the middle of the 70s and then fell by 50% into the mid to late 70s, only to turn around and then just go absolutely insane into the cycle peak. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what we're seeing in the commodities this go round too. where, gold is, was, what did it get up to? Oh, close to 2,000 and has worked its way down to around 1,000 or so. So basically a 50% haircut. And then in the last year or two of this cycle, I wouldn't be surprised to see these assets go crazy. And the problem here is that you guys are coming to the party, if you will, at the very tail end of the party. So there's a bit of a trap where you're going to almost be looking at the market over the next couple of years and just assuming that this is the way the market is. When, unfortunately, it's kind of like people who bought the .com stocks. They just assume that that's the way the market is. .com stocks just keep going up, right? Technology is going to grow endlessly. It's just the way it is. And, of course, they got a rude, slap in the face. So, I mean, I don't know where the top in these Bitcoin is. Is it 2,000? Is it 4,000? Is it 10,000? I don't know. I don't think anybody does. But my hunch is they're probably going to take price a lot farther than anybody expects. And
Yeah.
we're still sort of ramping up into this event. If I was going to bet on of any of the commodity assets into this cycle peak, crypto is the bet that I'd want to be making. And oh, by the way, it is. Hey, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I want to own crypto. I could be in there saying I want to own every broiler chicken in the world, but no, I don't want to own broiler chickens. I want to own crypto.
That's
my bet.
Like when it comes to Bitcoin, people don't understand that there's 100 million value assigned to each Bitcoin. They don't get that. And they just hear one. They hear one Bitcoin, one. And, well, what's the one break down to? Well, it breaks down to 100 million. So when you take 24 or whatever the number is, 23 million, and you multiply it by 100 million, that is an insane amount of pieces.
Yeah.
So,
and I've actually, in the fundamental analysis module that we'll work on, we actually do sort of what I call the TPS study, transactions per second. And to justify the amount of transactions that I think can be done with Bitcoin, you're going to have to break the Bitcoins into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. So I agree with you, right? I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this that we're talking about 1 MBTC. Didn't we used to, there was one there, in fact, in that module, that study, I even break it down. They actually do talk about a very specific ratio, like there are terms for those really minuscule Bitcoins. Dav, you probably know this stuff. Where do I have it? Yeah, so I postulate, yeah, we can go all the way down, like they have 1 MBTC. Have you ever seen that reference? I don't know whether you can see my screen or not. Then they have 1 UBTC, which is even smaller, right? That's a micro BTC or a millionth of a BTC, right? And then, of course, they can go down all the way down to 1 SAT, right? So, yeah, I could easily see where we ultimately, you could argue that 1 millionth of a BTC is really just like 50 cents at $500 a coin, right? So, and this segregated witness, I think they're going to try and make it doable so that you can actually do these sort of little mini micro transactions with Bitcoin. Anybody here familiar? Joe, does that sound familiar to you? Are you hip on what's going to happen with this SegWit? SegWit, I think that's what they call it. Dav, are you familiar with that? Nothing? Nobody?
just so Dad knows, I'm sorry I cut you off. He was trying to say something earlier, and I wasn't trying to, so apologize.
Anyway, not hearing anybody, so I'll just keep on talking. What should we talk about now? Thomas, what should we look at? Give me a crazy asset that you're interested in that we should look at.
There's a stock I was interested in called Tesla.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, they're getting
TSLA.
big, huge solar farm. They're the same company that is making electric cars that can go 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, I've heard that the big thing is that they want to attack the SUV market. That's what people are getting excited about. All right, let's see what we got here. TSLA. Oops, that's not right. Tesla? Oh, that's what it was. TSLA.
ELSA. Oh,
So, usually what I do is I like to start out with a higher time frame.
Ooh, look at that gap.
Well, so if we start with a higher time frame, ideally, think Coinigy shows, right? In fact, this looks like Ruby. Check this out. This should almost look identical. Right, so there's the Ruby chart. Joe, you see that?
Oh, wow.
And there's the Tesla chart.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Very.
So you remember earlier I said that your personal experiences of tracking that stock data and stuff like that, that would actually be really relevant to even crypto, right? Can you see the similarities? I mean, that's almost striking, eh?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter whether it's the stock market or it's crypto. A lot of behavior is similar. So you see what happened to Ruby, and this is very normal, right? If we do reload zones, right? What a coincidence. They just backed it up into a reload zone, right? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we pop on over to Tesla, and you tell me, am I going to be buying this asset up here?
Nope.
I just can't. I'm not allowed to, right? And if we were
I wish I had
looking,
got in at the beginning.
pardon me?
I said I wish I had got in at the beginning.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right? I guess what bothers me is I don't like this gap right here. That looks a bit bothersome.
Well, when you first pulled up the chart, I seen a huge gap like towards the middle.
Well, yeah, keep in mind that this is a weekly price chart. So if I'm ever going to analyze a stock, it's always best to start at the highest time frame and then work your way in. So I also see a gap right here. Do you see that gap right there?
Uh-huh.
And I also see this gap right here.
Right there. Yep, right where you had that green bar, towards the top of that green bar right there. Nice little gap right there.
Right.
Where you got your yellow.
The problem is that this has got a bit of risk associated with it, eh? And what do you think is going to happen if crude oil prices just collapse and gasoline prices at the pump just collapse? What do you think happens to a company like Tesla?
Well, since they're electric, they'll probably blow up.
Well, the problem is, and I would make the argument, one of the big selling features of Tesla is you don't have to go to the gas station and pay these ridiculous prices. So if we go through a 5-10 year period where crude oil prices are nothing and unleaded gasoline prices just go right down to the bottom, can you imagine that Tesla's margins are going to be squeezed and squeezed and squeezed? Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
I'd also say too, and this is more sort of level 2-y kind of stuff, we got like a pretty solid price channel working here. My hunch is that price is probably contained within this channel. Does that make sense? And notice your gap right here, that's going to be nothing more than a test of these lows, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the weekly chart. I really can't even think about investing until we get somewhere down in here and start seeing some structure. If we go down to the daily chart just to trade this, this is up and down like a horse drawers, right? We made a new reactionary low here, so, maybe we can do a fib going back up to the top here. And we see that, gee whiz, big surprise, they sort of stopped the rally right in the reload short zone. See that? You could maybe take this off of this high. It's, not that big of a deal. So on balance, this is a tough pill for me to swallow. I think this story's over. I would much rather you look for tomorrow's next winner than chase this thing.
Yeah.
Now, if it start putting in W's and start turning back up, I mean, really, if this thing is so great, this is only $200 to $290. Well, fuck, give the market the $90. If this thing's so great, then buy it on a breakout to new highs. So fucking what?
I'll have to see what they're doing with the SUVs first.
Well, what I would find, me personally, is that the chart itself will tell you how the market feels.
Yeah.
And right now, I think what's happening here is the market is saying, you know what, energy prices, this bull market here was when energy prices were like over $100 a barrel crude, right? And I think the market is saying, I think energy prices have seen their highs. It's kind of like First Solar. Right? These guys, it's going to be awfully tough for these guys to justify being in business if their competition, crude oil, is relatively cheap. Because this is kind of like the Canadian oil sands, right? If crude oil is not $50, $60, $70 a barrel, then a company like First Solar can't even justify being in business. So while not as obviously the chart looks different here, this looks really, really bad. I might argue that the Tesla is in sort of this kind of thing right in here, right now. It's off its peaks and it's consolidating, and if energy prices continue weak, then Tesla could be in big trouble.
Perfect time for me.
Pardon me?
It's the perfect time to get in.
The problem here, right, is that, like with crypto, because it's a commodity, a lot of these networks, they need a certain amount of work, whether it's POW, right, to pay the miners, to justify the network. They've got to maintain a minimum price. POS, right, you just got to hold on to the coins to get your payout. With something like a stock, which is purely an equity play, there's this, are you familiar with a company called Nortel Networks? Do yourself a favor and research a company called Nortel Networks. Basically, at the top of the dot-com boom, stock was $120-some a share. And the president of the company sold everything and he got the fuck out. And everybody criticized him. Oh my God, yeah, the internet's going to keep growing. It's never going to stop growing. What are you doing? Your EBITDA revenue numbers are just insane. Why are you selling? And how much is Nortel stock worth today? Nothing. Zero. It's not even worth the paper that the shares are printed on.
It's in chapter 11 right now.
Well, I would probably say it's in probably chapter 30 or 40. But anyway, so the point that I'm trying to make is that commodity assets, we can always, be looking for some sort of intrinsic value bottom, right? Where the market is just, if it's something like crypto, what does it take to maintain the network kind of idea? If it's something like gold, what does it take to actually get the gold out of the ground? There's always some sort of base value to a commodity. To a stock, there doesn't have to be a base value. The base value can be zero. So be careful in sort of calling bottoms on any of these ideas.
Okay.
All right, so what's Jonathan, are you got something to say, or you're saying they're 15-year-old what?
Oh yeah, no, Nortel is like the real deal. I mean, I'm a network engineer, and Ericsson, which was I don't know, a few different companies before, but 4 systems, I think. Nortel was a carrier network, among other things, and I'm not lying. Like, as of this second, a network that used to carry data for high-paying commercial customers in Michigan that I support, it still runs. It runs 24/7 all year for like 15 years, over 15 years, and it doesn't break. Like, they made really awesome networks, and it bummed me out when they went
Well, I
up.
don't know whether, Jonathan, I don't know whether you know the story, but Nortel Networks used to be part of Ma Bell. And in Canada, when they broke up the telco, Nortel Networks was the hardware manufacturer for Ma Bell here in Canada. And it's kind of funny. I have a personal story with the company because right out of high school, the first job I took was selling fax paper over the telephone. I don't know whether you guys even know what fax paper is, but that was not a glamour job, I can tell you that much. But anyway, I used to have to go in every fucking day and look at that damn Nortel Networks telephone. And actually, it wasn't Nortel Networks then. It was Nortel. And it was like a $3, $4, $5 stock for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, they went and bought a company called Bay Networks. Are you familiar with Bay Networks? They were basically a big networking company in San Francisco. And that's when things started to go crazy. All right, so Da Vinci's asked us to comment on something. I'm almost afraid. What do we have to look at here? What do we got? All of the world's money and markets in one visualization. Bitcoin, silver, Buffett, Gates. That's cute. Berkshire, Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Exxon, Fed's balance sheet. Oh, that's good. Coins and banknotes. Wow, is the supply that big? I didn't think the supply of money was that big. Commercial real estate. Interesting. Gold? No way. Wait, what? So what do these dots mean? What does it say? Each square this size represents 100 billion? There's no way the gold market's that big.
Yes, it is. That's the amount of physical gold above ground.
What's narrow money? That's interesting. Was that M2 money supply?
M1.
M1, okay. And is this M2? All stock markets? No, I don't know about this.
That's worldwide
That's
stock.
it. The Fed's balance sheet is way bigger than this, if this is the size of the stock market.
That's worldwide. That's worldwide stock market, not just the
All stock markets? All right. Broad money, is that M2 or is that like M4?
M2.
Okay. And all global debt. You're saying that all global equities, all stock markets, this should be about all the global debt should be about 3 times that size. And what do you got here? Oh God, this scares me. What's this? Oh shit!
God.
I don't like the look of this. What is this? It just keeps going. Derivatives. Oh yeah. Well, of course, right? I mean, think of derivatives though as insurance policies, right? So that means every single car on every single road that you have has a derivative attached to it, right?
Were you a derivatives broker, Brian?
Yeah.
So your picture should be at the bottom with all those squares.
There's Brian. Doing his little TRISOF.
Derivatives are also bets on a bet, and a bet on that bet, and a bet on bets on bets.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's technically what the swaps markets are, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
They are just nothing more than a bet on top of a bet. So, and then, and we sort of talked about this in the course, and you level oneers, you brand new people, you're going to see this, right? If you look at the Chicago Board Options Exchange on any given day, we can just pull this up. Check this out. I mean, it should be self-explanatory. Dav's image here. It should make sense why. Just got to get a quote first. What the hell am I looking at here? Jeez, come on. So if we look at something like just the S&P depository receipts, right? This is only one asset. So here is the underlying asset. It's $213.15, and each one of these options contracts is on 100 shares of this, right? And if we ask to just see all of the September derivatives off of this one vehicle, right? This one asset, there it is. $213.15, that's the asset, right? And it has a market capitalization. That's basically the market cap of the US stock market, right? And then if you go and look, and this is just one contract month, right? The September, and this is a weekly option, weekly derivatives. So this derivative, all of these contracts, and you can see all the open interest, right? All of these contracts, every single one that you see on this screen is all derived off of that one vehicle. And you can see there are people in every single one of these contracts. So does it make sense why the derivatives market is so much bigger?
It makes sense to me. I mean, I understand why.
Right.
But it goes beyond that too, right?
It's what? Sorry?
It goes beyond just options.
Well, yeah,
Other
and
things.
then we get into the swaps, right?
Swaps.
So you could make an, and you remember when we went into the futures markets and we looked at things like the commitments of traders reports, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
if we go to the COT report and we pull up the commitments of traders, you know, and we could just even, well, let's do it short. I think this is the one we want, right? There are actually futures contracts of these swaps themselves. So let's see if I think maybe this contract doesn't have it here. All right, so here we got a 10-year derivatable IR swap. So this is a bet on a bet, right? The swap contract. And then, of course, do you think there's going to be options on this futures contract? Yes. So technically, those options are a bet on a bet on a bet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, insane in the membrane, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And then,
you know,
then
like,
there's
would you have been able to explain to the public what CDOs were?
no, I'd have to refer them to a video that explains it because it's crazy.
Right.
It's synthetic.
And really, this is sort of like Goldman Sachs voodoo, right? These guys, they're trying to constantly create more business. And so they go out while the market's feeling happy and they create all these brand new derivatives contracts and stuff. And, ooh, look, this is going to serve this market and all that kind of stuff. And it just adds more confusion to the pile. And at one point, really the question is, does anybody ever wake up one morning and say, well, you know, this emperor doesn't really have any clothes on and the whole damn thing's going to fall apart, right? But I kind of think that might have happened in 2008. And I think that Ben Bernanke, if you watch his testimony in front of Congress through that period, I think he was really afraid of the whole thing falling apart. But they avoided that. They dodged the bullet. The Chinese did not dump the Americans' bonds.
Yeah, but the next time it falls apart, which it will, they're going to have to double down.
Yep, could be. I mean, and the interesting thing though, Dav, is you know what the best investment return was ever by the United States of America? It was the investment by Franklin Delano Roosevelt through the Tennessee Valley Authority buying up all the bad debt around the United States and holding on to the debt to maturity. The United States of America, the government, realized an absolute massive gain on that investment. So I think that's kind of what the Fed is thinking this go round. But it might blow up on them. You just never know. Are we going to get another massive expansion in the economy this go round? I don't know. We were pretty lucky the way the baby boomers sort of set everything up there to have the economy just go crazy in the 1980s and 90s, right?
Yeah.
I don't know whether we have that kind of demographic backdrop set up now. I don't think we do.
No way. There's no manufacturing. It's just not possible.
Right. And so I think what ends up happening is kind of like what we see in Japan, where we just, spend the next 10, 15, 20 years just sort of mired in this old age population. And this talk just drones on. But only time will tell, right? Anyway. Well, I've been talking for about an hour and a half here. Does anybody else feel like taking the floor and giving a presentation? This is a cute little picture, though, Dev. I kind of like that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, that's cute.
So
isn't that interesting? So all of the global debt, they're sitting at 199 trillion now, eh? What did we say in the course material? I think I put it at like about 90 trillion. I didn't think so. Quite literally, these guys are saying my numbers are half the size they should be. The stock market, in my course material, I said that was, 30 trillion? And so now that's at 70 trillion. So I got to update my numbers. But interesting, can you see how that's still a 3-to-1 ratio, though? Isn't that interesting? Right? But it's actually growing, right? 3-to-1 would imply that the bond market should be 210 trillion. So even that, the stock markets are growing. This keeps growing. That's interesting. I'm surprised that Fed's balance sheet is as small as it is. I thought it would have been much, much bigger.
yeah, that's right. The balance sheet is about right. What is that? 2014.
So they're only sitting. I don't know, because the U.S. economy is supposed to be about 15 trillion right now, right? Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, silver, right? I mean,
yeah, that sort of makes sense, right? Because my hunch is that, and I don't know whether this makes sense though. 14 billion, and then you're saying your gold is 7.8 trillion.
yeah, because we used all the silver that was in existence in small amounts.
Silver's not destroyed, is it?
The silver has not been destroyed. It's just been used in tiny amounts everywhere. So computers, our phones,
So
our
iPhone. I don't know. That
Right,
doesn't seem right, does it? 14 billion to 7.8 trillion?
but they're only counting what's above ground, and it's stored above ground in storage containers, right? So it's only what's stored somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't count, for example, your gold, your silver watch, your silver, what's it called, pots and stuff like that. Anything that you've consumed silver with. Only the stored silver in inventory.
That just seems out of whack. So you're telling me that the entire Bitcoin market is a third of the entire global silver market?
That's right. It's not the market itself, because what they're counting is how many silver ounces, right, in the storage that you can buy, right? What exists where? And I'm not talking about jewelry and computers. Just okay. What's at the Comex? What's at the London LBMA? What's at what is it called? Perth Mint, right? They're just counting that, right? And same with the gold, right? They're just counting. Okay, what do the central banks have? What do each of the central banks have? What do each of the storage companies have? What's there?
It seems to me silver prices should probably be like $70, $80 an ounce right now.
That's right. It should be, but it's not, because it's being manipulated.
Interesting. All right, well, thanks for the little tidbit, Dev. Always appreciate your wisdom. What do we do this, Twitter?
Yeah, so that's why I see silver at $1,000 an ounce one day.
Okay.
because it was always used as money. It works exactly like gold, right? It has the same properties of gold. It's just that it was the average person used it as money. And so since we dropped it for dollars and paper money, it has no monetary, what's it called, vector. But people realize, wait a second, these dollars don't have any value. They're going to go back to gold, and then they're going to realize, well, I can't afford gold. And so what's the next thing? Silver.
Yeah.
Well, you know how you listen to different people online and you glean information, like they're not necessarily 100% accurate, but they may say some things that kind of strike you and they stick with you. Listening to different gold bugs and different people that are kind of bullion, heavy with what they think the next or the current investment model should be. I find it interesting that there was one fellow that talked about how you can't have bullion be valuable until mining is valuable. And the reason he said that is because there's all these pie in the sky kind of declarations made about where silver and gold and platinum and all that should be. And they were just going off of basic valuation comparisons. And if this crashed, then that should be, elevated. And he was saying that what was missing from the equation was mining, and how mining silver and gold has actually been suppressed because of the price point where you as a miner, you don't really have any kind of incentive to continue your operations or keep pushing forward with your mining facility because the price is so suppressed. It's just not a return on value for you. And I found that kind of compelling because I thought that, somebody that's looking at this from a broad perspective and they want to invest heavy dollars or whatever the dollar becomes, the dominant currency, they're not going to do it until there's an ROI, a return on investment, that makes sense. And so when there's a return on investment that makes sense with gold and silver mining, you can't achieve this peak price point until you kind of work your way through all these different growth spurts with valuation, and then mining becomes something that big money can invest in, and you'll start seeing growing mining operations. So I'm kind of paying attention to both on a long-term basis, where pie in the sky gold, silver bug valuations aren't realistic, and you will see jumps at some point, but they won't be these monolithic, heavenly like jumps that they're predicting, because you have to have that mining facility involved in that whole equation. Because without it, if you're not mining at a profitable, it's not going to all come together. I don't know if that makes sense, but it made sense to me when I heard it.
Well, we used to say that who better to know the fundamentals of an industry than industry insiders, right? And who better to follow an underlying commodity than the companies that are in that commodities business? So if investors are not willing to bid up and put a premium in those companies, and keep in mind, if the company that's in the business, if the directors of the company think that there's money to be made there, then they will go and buy up their company stock. So I totally agree with you, right? The easiest way for you to understand what the sort of trends in the industry itself are simply go and look at the companies that are in the business. So very, very smart analysis. And I hate to say it, Dav, I mean, I do like the idea of a spike, panic run towards this asset and higher prices, but the gold companies themselves, if anything, at best, that we had sort of a dead cat bounce. You remember last December when I went and bought those gold calls, I mean, they were giving away gold company stock, right? Things have come back in sort of a big jump here through the winter spring here. But they're kind of feeling soft again.
Yeah, I mean, Yahoo, right? I mean, or is it Yahoo? No, Google. Their whole market cap is like the size of all the gold companies in existence, right?
Yeah.
So it's
one company I used to always like to follow to measure silver is Pan American Silver. Do you follow Pan American Silver?
Pan American Silver, you know what? Less than 40% of their income comes from silver, because silver right now is not primarily mined. There's no primary mines of silver, none whatsoever.
Well, we can always go look. All right, so you don't like Pan American Silver? Let's go. The next silver stock we used to always play was Silver Wheaton. You ever play this guy?
I used to a while back, but I don't play stocks anymore.
SLW. So can you see how we had this market structure, total destruction, and this is just nothing more than sort of a dead cat bounce, right?
First Majestic is much better.
All right. What's that, FCM or something?
That's AG.
AG. First Majestic. Yeah, same sort of thing. There's that market structure top, just a grinding bear, right? Just destroy you into the ground. Dead cat bounce. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a lot of industry players that were hitting this rally, eh?
Yeah, I was telling everybody when it hit $19 and everybody and their mother was like pumping this stock. I was like, you're insane to buy it here.
Yeah. I know. I don't mind the idea of just, and Jonathan, this sort of speaks to you, is just watch how the insiders of the company start behaving when we get back down into this area down here, right? And of course, we were talking earlier about gaps, right? You can see the holes on the charts that need to be filled in here. Yeah, big one right there still need to be filled in. So, and if anything, this almost looks like an AB equals CD, eh? So let's hope this isn't a disaster, but, there is a definite possibility we might do something like this. Which takes us down into against these lows. Ooh, look, there's a cheeky gap down there too, eh? So I agree with you, Jonathan. The writing on the walls from these companies was more of dead cat relief rally bounce kind of idea back into resistance rather than sort of a brand new bull market. And that's sort of what I've been sort of counseling to people.
Yeah, and unfortunately it comes with scaremongering and getting people into bullion, which I don't agree with from that perspective of a sales type pitch. But yeah. I do wonder about the whole suppression of the mining companies and trying to get them to go under, only because I've seen the Walmart model play out in the U.S. and how it's crushed entrepreneurship with the mom and pop shops. And
so would First Majestic be the Walmart? Would Newmont be the Walmart?
I'm sorry?
Would a company like First Majestic, would this be the Walmart?
No. Oh, no. No. They would be the mom and pop. They, at a grand level, when you're talking of billions of bond borrowing power.
Who's the Walmart in this industry then?
What's that?
Who's the Walmart in this industry?
At this point in time, it's the banks and anyone that has access to that lending power from the central banks, but I can't tell you exactly. I'm just saying that as far as a structure, I can see how that point of view has validity. But at the same time, the scaremongering, people and investing in bullion, I do kind of sit back and say, maybe that makes sense, but time will tell. We'll see. Because crypto has pulled me out of that realm. The scaremongering isn't required in crypto. Crypto rides on its own validity of programming, and it's a culture that is not centered on scaring people into buying into the industry. So I do have like my own dynamics with what I may approve of investing wise, but I do find it interesting that these mining entities could be being suppressed long term, where they could be gobbled up for pennies in the dollar. We'll see what happens.
Okay, an interesting conversation. I agree with your observation about crypto though too, because I like the idea of being invested in a growth industry that wants to grow, right? That you can feel the money coming into it. Whereas classical gold and silver investing is really like, oh, we want to get out of the system. We don't want to be part of the system.
I'm sorry, I think I've just completely insulted people at First Majestic. I don't know a thing about First Majestic, so I was just.
I mean, hey, you look at almost any of these gold miners. Give me another one. I went through them. Like the biggest gold stock of all, right? Newmont Mining, and you see a similar chart. Right?
Silver miner. But this is real money. This and this, gold and silver, real money. Always will be. It's you know what? You can laugh all you want, right? But the person who's laughing last laughs best.
Well, that's fine.
From you.
You could melt it down into jewelry and wear it as jewelry.
Because you know what? Everybody laughed at me when I told them to buy Bitcoins at $1. I have no problem with that.
Well, I don't have any problem with that either. What kind of gold coin is that? Yeah, which one is that? Is that your Cougarans?
Canadian Maple Leaf.
The Canadian Maple Leafs, eh? There you go. Damn. Flashing his bling.
Bling, bling! Bling, bling!
So, Jonathan, we look at this Newmont chart, right? And very much like that silver chart, same sort of thing. This is our sort of reload zones. You've heard us talk about lots about in the alts. Really, there's not a heck of a lot of difference, just same shit, different pile. Right? And sadly, we started to hear the public actually talking about gold as a realistic investment again. That, if anything's got to be our warning sign. I think Julian said it got to a point where he was walking up and down the halls of Boeing, and they were saying, oh yeah, you got all these crazy Boeing engineer worker dudes, right? They're starting to talk about investing in silver. That's the time to get the hell out of there, right? So sad.
All the silver channels that I watched was touting the stocks, and I'm like, oh my god, no. Everything that you taught me, I'm like, no. I'm telling them, no, don't buy, because they had every single freaking CEO on every goddamn show that I watch, and I'm like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah.
And I was right. I drew a chart. I went up on the what's it called, the gold bugs index and the silver bugs index. Right, and I drew a chart and I said, "See this? This is the top. You buy down here." And
well, you should be gaining quite a bit of reputation with them, right?
And that's all thanks to you, Brian.
Well, no. It's your hard work. Yeah, but you know what I found? What's weird in this business is like those Steam It people. I went on their site and I just said, "Look, don't buy this thing up here," and yet I got absolutely no feedback at all. Some guy posts a chart, oh, this is a bull flag, we're going much higher. And all these people come out into woodwork, oh yeah, give him a tip, and the stupid post got like $50, $100 in tips. And it was a completely wrong analysis, right? So go figure, right?
Well, people like to hear, like to listen to what they want to hear, right?
And Dav, do you have a YouTube channel?
I used to. I don't post on it anymore. I just haven't had the
James
desire
wants to look at FCX.
post and stuff like that anymore.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. FCX is Freeport MacBrown. Uh-oh. Actually, this is a good stock to analyze. Jonathan, good learning for you here. What do we call copper in the marketplace? Does anybody know what we call copper?
Pennies?
No. Thomas, you should know. Copper is called the professor of economics.
Dr. Copper.
So good thing for any of you new people. No, can't hear you, Thomas. No. He's been screaming at us all along. You mean you've been talking away for the past half hour, 45 minutes, not realizing that none of us could hear you? Anyway, so good lesson for you here, Jonathan. Write this down. And Connor, Patrick. Do we know Patrick? Who's Patrick? I have a Patrick. Are you a new student at term? I don't know. Maybe you're from the internet. Anyway. We called copper the professors of economics. And really, whatever copper is doing, that's an excellent barometer as to the health of the economy. And so, I mean, you tell me, just simply put, what letter of the alphabet are we staring at here? In fact, it looks like a pretty well-defined harmonic pattern, too.
Yeah. It's Mickey Mouse.
Look at bad, eh? Right up to there. 88.6, and it made it to 88.9. Wow. So yeah, this is what we call a bat. I don't know. Do you guys remember in 2014, Bitcoin did exactly the same pattern?
Yeah.
Right. So Jonathan, an assignment for you and Connor. Go pull up your Bitcoin chart of Stamp or something in 2014 and see if you can find a similar pattern to this. Pretty well publicized. It kind of sucks because we started our business just as this was happening. And of course, you're going to see what Bitcoin did following this. Long and short of it here is this is not a bullish pattern. Unfortunately, this is a bearish pattern. You know, somebody said Mickey Mouse. I often say if you ever see the market smiling at you, it's getting ready to take your money away from you. So a move through this level would be a big failure. And uh-oh, look what we just did. So James, you asked for us to look at this. Is that correct?
Oh, wow. My ex-girlfriend works indirectly for Freeport through Deloitte. Yeesh.
Yeah. So this is not healthy, right? To say the least. And really, you know, the sad part about it is I don't think this is a really good shorting idea because we're so late, right? We'd ideally want to be shorting off the tops here. Coming and shorting this now is kind of, you know.
Look at that line. That is almost a complete line right there, right?
But
just from that high all the way down, like it just seems like it flows almost like.
yeah, you know, the sad part about it was this was the 2008 sort of housing crisis problem, right? And this was the injection of QE to try and get things going. And we've actually broken market structurally these lows, haven't we? We've already broken that right here, right? So this is a really broken story. This isn't not a happy story. You never brought up the copper chart. Oh, okay. Let's see what copper looks like. All right, here's the spot copper price. Well, it's looking a little better. I mean, it's in an interesting zone, so maybe this is more Freeport-McMoRan related than copper itself. But, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, the stocks usually lead the commodity. So if that's the case, then, you know, maybe this consolidation that we see trying to come in here, it just isn't going to work. So, you know, our classic buying zone, this thing's trying desperately to bottom in this zone. But just like the FCM chart, right? The FCM chart just went, you know, we can only really get super bullish of this if we can get up our butt up through here, right? So, and you can see a W is trying to come in. But based on the fact that the stocks always lead the commodities, what we just saw out of FXM leads me to believe that this thing isn't going to bottom here. So that's it. Really, I mean, it kind of, and really this kind of makes sense, right? September, October, this is supposed to be the shitty part of the market, right? And I think we're all sort of in agreement that, you know, market's looking really kind of toppy anyway. There's been lots of little anecdotal evidence that, you know, there's problems. Interesting to see. Does anybody know of any other, whoops, I don't know what the hell that was. It was at FXM? No. What was the symbol again? What was that? FXCX. There we go. All right. So Freeport lost its low in here. And I guess what that means is that, you know, and we actually do have an M already working here. Isn't that interesting? You guys see that? There already is an M that's already validated in here. So, I don't know. Thomas, does that help? FCX, is that what I put? Doesn't look like copper's broken yet. I suppose from a trend line perspective, are there options on copper? Of course there are. I suppose we could, you know, have you ever, oh, look at that. So really there's your, if you're going to be watching copper for the trade, watch for the Ron Jeremy to set up here, right? And trade the trend line break. Look at that, eh? That was just yesterday. So, or 2 days ago. So probably go and try and find out what news caused this reversal in here and see if that has some sort of merit. Was that a econ that generated that trade? But can you see how this is, there's sort of like a window. This would be your buying window right down in here, right against this tail. If you wanted to take a shot off of these lows. And of course, if we fail through the trend line, Ron Jeremy says you got to wait for a break of the trend line, then a market structure signal to go short. Options wise, I mean, it really all depends on how you want to play it, right? You could go and buy FCX options on the Chicago Board of Trade, or we could go and look at the options on copper itself. So it really all depends on how you want to play it, Thomas. Or you could also look at all the various different copper derivatives. What do you got there? React to Positiv's news, the #1 publicly held copper producer managed to offload oil and gas assets to put up for sale more than a year ago. Year to date, the $14 billion company stock is now up 64%. Well, so the question I would have, Thomas, and that's 64%? Let's see. Oh, well, I mean, is that really fair though? Right? Is that really, you know, quoting that statistical measure, is that really a realistic sort of appraisal of the company? Yeah, that's not. It just so happens at the end of the year, the stock was right on its knees, right? So is the company really 64% more valuable? Well, you can see the range that's developing here, right? It's just not good to see these lows taken out. You know what this reminds me of, Thomas? This kind of looks like your gold. Because keep in mind, Freeport-McMoRan has a lot of gold assets too, right? So I wonder, you know, remember we've been watching gold really closely in here, right? So I wonder if Freeport-McMoRan looks awfully similar to that level on gold. And notice these gaps right down in here. This might be a trap, right? They come down, fill in the gaps. This is the key low. That probably corresponds, whatever that low is, I bet that low corresponds with that low that you were watching on the gold market. That makes sense? Yeah. So find out whatever that low is. And James, you asked about this earlier, right? Go and find out what your gold chart is. And, you know, we can look at the copper price itself. That, what a coincidence, right? So that low, look at the FCXM chart, right? That low right there is the M top in the copper market right there. See that? That's right through there. So clearly, this event was some sort of pivot for this market in particular. And my hunch is it's more to do with gold than copper. I think the gold market must have rallied, and that probably is what brought the copper market back. The gold asset, the gold exposure is what pushed this to new highs. You can see that copper itself is not helping this company at all. But I think something broke recently here in gold. And keep in mind, guys, I am short gold, right? I'm just going to fill up my beverage.
Then I'm gonna get some cookies if Brian is getting more water.
Yeah. Cookies. Yum, yum.
Cookies.
Anyway, I'm just having fun blabbing away. Anybody got anything to say after I said all that?
Cookies. No,
I would be a
that,
buyer of FCX right here. That's what I.
yeah, that's true. I mean, can you bring up the gold bugs index? Let's see here. What is that? What's that?
That was
What is
Gold Bugs Index?
It's GDX J or
Gold Bugs. Gold.
it's not called gold bugs. That's its nickname. Let's see here.
HUI.
That's it. That's Huey. Why didn't I remember that?
All right, let's see what we got here. Spock. HUI. Did I do that right? Maybe IU. Pro Beta S&Ps. That's weird. HUI. Maybe that's not the symbol.
Probably the GDX.
Oh, I got the
Or
X.
G.
That's the gold and silver index. Is that what you're talking about? The gold and silver index? There's the ARC gold bugs.
XAU. XAU looks.
XAU. That's the gold and silver index. Gold money. Is that what they're calling it now? Oh, that's a stock in Toronto.
That's a stock.
Bit Gold XAU. That's a stock in Toronto.
Yeah.
Something doesn't look right here. Are there no more? No. All exchanges.
Gold stock index.
Philex Gold and Silver Index. There it is. All right, so look at this. Let's see what we got here. Oh.
That's right.
What do you think the
That's right.
odds are that that's about a 38.2 right there? Right against all these highs. I bet that's a 38.2 right there. Let's see what happens.
And you see,
Oh, look at that! Not bad, eh? What happened to Thomas? You gotta type that blah blah blah, then the HU fucking microphone. Okay. Did Thomas just throw his computer against the wall? I hope not. Anyway.
you see how this thing's got to pull back, right?
Yeah. So this is actually a lot like Bitcoin right now. What do you think the odds are that this is right in here is probably a 38.2?
Very high. Almost.
There you go. That's the playground right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got to do at least 50%, Mr. Gann.
That's what Mr. Gann
Or-
would want, right? Right against these lows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but you got a lot of gaps.
If you do an AB equals CD, what do you think the odds are that's it's sort of in that same neighborhood, eh?
Probably pretty good.
So AB. There we go.
AB.
Right on the nose.
Yeah.
So probably against this inside bar reversal low right there, right? And maybe this historic breakout and that little bit of a gap right there. This seems to be a important level right in there.
Exactly. And this is exactly what I drew up for people.
You see the head and shoulders?
Hmm.
Really, if this plays out, then this market's toast. And this,
Oh, it's the head and shoulders? Oh, look at that. I didn't. That's like a little bit off to the side, though.
so that would sort of imply a sort of a deflationary spiral.
You guys hear me now?
Hey, there he is.
Finally.
You know?
Hey, Slick. Wow,
Did
isn't
you
that
get
interesting?
my
So
message?
a break of this neckline would take us right down into the reload zone.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Where it should be.
What's on your mind, Chief? Actually, I was complimenting you today to another student. I said that if you want to talk to a guy who's got ice in his veins and a fucking killer trader, yeah, give Thomas a shout. And if you're really lucky, he might talk to you. Anyway, how you doing, Chief?
Not too bad.
Good, great.
I
Where
was
are you in the world now?
I'm home for the next few days until I leave again for Europe. But I was interested in what Dab was talking about with the gold bug chart, which you couldn't bring up in TradingView because you need to type the caret before you type HUI.
A what?
The caret, it's the 6 with the shift button.
They call it a carrot?
In programming, I think you do.
Do you?
I don't call it a carrot. I call it 6 to the power.
That?
Oh, you call
Yeah.
it more? Okay. My programming teacher called it the caret.
Gold bugs index. There you go. A lot of similarities. This looks bothersome down here. At some point we're going back there, but hopefully that's next cycle, not this cycle.
So do people actually buy this index, Da Vinci?
Yeah. People buy that index and they buy it along with all the gold stocks and everything. And nuts.
Wow.
I mean, you could have done it like when it was like last year, like December time frame, and there was like December, January. It was like they were like you couldn't give them away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was saying, yeah, sure, buy, right? But then I mean, now everybody's pounding the table. Well, I mean, that was last month. They were pounding the table. I mean, pounding the table. And I'm like, no.
I know, man. Everyone in my industry was just going nuts. Like, gotta buy gold, gotta buy as much as I can. I'm like,
Like,
telling you guys,
no.
do it.
Well, hats off to you guys for having the kahunas. All right, so we'll just try and do a simple GAN line here, and this is actually a good example of why we, when we're drawing trend lines for the level 2 class. Because I don't think you can really draw an accurate trend line off of this. So what do I need to do here? So as Mike Myers would say, talks amongst yourselves, talks amongst yourselves. I got to finish this.
Yeah. There's one guy who was showing his chart, and he was saying it's going to 3,000. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, did you guys see the stupidity of as Bitcoin was marching up there? God, every fucking day. And I hate those guys that put this is the look on your face when Bitcoin hits this price, right? And they're just idiot posts. Like, there's no thought in them, but it just drives you nuts, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to chime in there.
That's fine. That's cool. You're right. I mean,
God, that was irritating when I saw that. But you guys kind of were starting to see that in the gold industry?
Oh, yeah. Like, annoying.
People weren't selling their positions because they thought gold was going to... People weren't selling their positions because people thought gold was going to go to $1,800 in a week or two. And it's like, you guys have been burned by this how many times in the past, and you still haven't learned that you turn over your product just like you always would, and even in an uptrend market, you still have to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: you don't sell physical gold and silver like you do, like you do, like we do with bitcoins and stuff like that. It's your insurance policy. You buy and sell the indexes or the futures market, and you trade that. Right. So, for example, somebody who has like a lot of gold like me is short that gold, right? Which I have done thanks to Brian there, right? I'm in the short of the gold right now, right? And so I'm gonna profit along the way. But as I'm profiting, I'm gonna take my profits and I'm gonna be buying physical whenever it comes back down.
Yeah, I don't think Thomas's industry, the people in that industry, think that way, right? They're either long the asset or they're not. I don't know. Have you met many people in your industry, Thomas, that actually even understand the concept of like doing a hedge?
Yeah, I mean, for what I do, I definitely use hedges, and since
you do, but do they?
Well, one of the big companies that I work very closely with hedges their positions, and anyone who's serious in my industry, whenever they have a large gold position, you have to hedge your position because there's a value of the gold that they buy that's over the spot price. And if gold goes down and you have a hedge on, you're making money not only on the hedge, but also the value of the gold on top of its spot price. And the same thing goes for the opposite, where when you're putting on your hedge, you're losing money on the hedge because the gold price is going up. You're more than making that up in the position when the value over the melt price appreciates higher.
Is there, that would be really cool to see if there was like some sort of spread between coins and that melt price you just talked about, Thomas. Is there anything like that exists somewhere?
There's no charts. I've been trying to make something and chart information and plot data points so that I can make the information available to my clients. But the problem,
that would be so valuable, eh?
Well, the problem is that's the secret in the industry, is that there's information behind the scenes that is so valuable that it can't be let out because there are certain agreements that are signed between very large institutions that prevent certain people from releasing that information.
Fascinating. You know, I mean, let's face it, right? This is what's called fucking protecting your nut, right?
Exactly. It's the things
That's
that
what
I've
this all
seen.
boils down to, right? Is these guys are fucking protecting their nut.
Well, it's a really big nut, and the guys that are protecting it are even bigger.
Yeah. I don't doubt it.
Yeah, but
So
those
looking
gold
at the gold bugs index, like I said, it's tough for me to actually draw a trend line that I can work with. So I threw on some Gann angles here. I think there was some sort of key level here that was definitely breached. You know, you can see the band that he's kind of sitting in, right? And really, I don't know whether we can think about starting a new study to the downside. Oh yeah, isn't that interesting? So just even so far, so you can see, watch this level right in here, right? There's your key. I don't think that's an accident, eh?
Nope.
You know, the problem is, and you know, for you new guys, and this is probably, some of you are probably just like, holy fuck, this is information overload, but you know, we just have a really simple principle that gaps like to be filled in, and this thing looks like a piece of Swiss cheese, right? It's not so bad through this area. This will be probably a tough traffic area in here.
I'd be more interested, Brian, to see the futures contract, to see what, you know, a big gold contract expiration of, like, maybe what's one of the big gold expiration months? Is that December?
Yeah. So
I'd
like
love to see what
December
that looks
culture?
like.
Usually, you know, the big one, and just because they like to be, you know, very unique and on their own, is February. February gold. Everybody loves to play that one.
I think there might be
December would
some.
be
Z6,
because
right?
all the major corporations are coming out saying gold 1,500. I'm like, okay, were you saying that? That means gold's going to be at 1,200.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to those schmucks that put out, like, their individual report, like Citi and, you know, whoever, like Goldman. Obviously, you do the opposite of whatever Goldman says. They're full of hot air, but
That's such
I think I already said
right
that. You guys, you new guys, Connor, Jonathan, Patrick, right? You're getting little tidbits of information that are extremely valuable here. I hope you're writing this stuff down.
there's some very big players that have a vested interest in gold at the 1,100 to 1,050 range before we go over 1,400.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, yeah, actually, you know, guys like Thomas Da Vinci, like, can you kind of feel the symmetry, the rhythm of the market here? I can almost see the dance. And actually, it looks like the dance got, you know, somebody actually missed a step in here, which is interesting. I wonder if because of this misstep here, the market has to almost go back and sort of get back in queue. But can you kind of see the rhythm of this market? It almost has it's almost like an EEG, right? It almost has like a heart rate sort of pattern to it. Can you kind of see that? EKG, what did I say? I don't know.
You did that's a brainwave.
Okay, A, B, C, D. How about that one? I don't know. I suppose one could argue that if this sort of whatever caused this hiccup here, if that sort of behavior continues, so, you know, you gold industry guys go and find out what happened in the world right around this event. What was it that caused this?
No one's going to be able to find that, Brian.
That's not true. Just go in the newspaper, right? Just go back and Google on that date, right? What's that date? February, the beginning of February. Remember we talked about gold prices, right? So.
Well, that one was influenced by interest rate hikes, I think.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? So what was it that kicked that sort of kicked this market out of its sort of symmetry pattern, and caused this hiccup? You know, gap and go. Technically, we should have been looking for a bit higher, and I think, you know, I seem to remember that we had like a breakaway, runaway, and measured gap. Do you remember that? I think that was actually when I first introduced
Showed
it.
me that. Yeah.
I did like Twitter posts and stuff like that about, breakaway gap, measured gap, exhausted gap, right, which painted a target up in here.
I would argue that the dance, so to speak, stopped at that rounded bottom, and that came in there in December.
Yeah, could be.
That was right when they announced in December that an interest rate hike was.
That's right. This was the first interest rate hike in basically 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the market will actually use the Fed raising rates as a signal that, hey, if the Fed's raising rates, then it must believe there is inflation out there. This is an inflation proxy. So as a result, that should make sense. Why? And I like that observation, Thomas. I think that's smart. Yeah. So really, what's going on here is the gold market has turned on the perception that the economy is indeed strong, and that it is turning. And as we've sort of been jawboned higher here by the Fed saying that they want to raise rates and that the economy is strong enough and that they really want to raise rates, the gold market has moved up. But the problem that I see is, and it'd be interesting, I guess, was this the Brexit event right in this area here?
Yep.
What kind of short-term, erratic, sort of unexpected behavior did that Brexit sort of inject into this market? Was the market originally not planning on going that trajectory, but maybe coming back to your 1100 area off of this original top, and this Brexit actually artificially extended this rally, and you can quickly see that the market, when I look at this M just jumps out at me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, it's in there, which tells me that there's probably a good 70% chance we're going to have to come back down and just sort of, reset and put in a new W before we can move higher. I would say good 25-30% chance that we consolidate through here and work our way up. I think that, we're up against some stiff resistance levels, so it really shouldn't surprise us that the market stalled here. There was this resistance level, and you can see how the market stalled against that. And I don't know, if we look at the momentum indicators, what do you think the odds are that this move here was in divergence to this move?
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, so we see our MACD indicator classically broke down through here, right? But it's interesting how it didn't really go through these lows yet.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like, Willie, on balance, we never did get up to new highs. A little stupid there. That was actually a pretty good little window right in there, especially off this double little divergence in here. That was confirmed. So on balance, I think the market was telling you that, hey, I need to clean up. We still really haven't gotten stupid yet. No real sign of, really what I love to see are these saucer tops and saucer bottoms. So V bottom here probably still needs some more work and certainly isn't bullish yet. It's interesting that the POC looks like this. So you can clearly see that the street has probably taken the opportunity. Keep in mind that this was a much deferred contract back here, so people weren't trading it. As we rallied into this area, it looks like the big boys really stepped up and let them have it, eh?
Yep.
Right, that's what all this volume is. As price worked its way up into here, the big boys said, you want gold? Merry Christmas. Take all the fucking gold you want.
That's what they did.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, isn't it contracts per ounce on the comics?
Contracts per ounce. Well, each contract is 100 ounces, and they're deliverable in the middle of December. So it's a futures contract.
I'm sorry, the gold bugs were seeing that there was like a silver shortage last summer, and the contracts went up to suppress the price, even though there was a shortage. I don't know if Dav is familiar with that or not.
Well, we were watching, remember we were watching Commitments of Traders, and the big boys all jumped in on the long side back here. There was a great buying window back here. I just don't know about up here now. All I'm saying with this volume profile is that this deferred gold contract, look at the relative volume. It just didn't trade much. So this volume profile just simply tells you where did all of this volume actually trade. So you can clearly see as we're getting closer and closer to the December futures contract, more and more people are getting involved. And like I said, somebody has to be a seller in here, right? Does that make sense, Jonathan? If there were no sellers, this price would have gone up, 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 because there is a hell of a lot of buyers, but price didn't go up. Basically, somebody said, you want gold? Merry Christmas. Here's some gold. Here's some gold. Here's some gold. You want some more? Here you go. You want some more? You want some more? You want some more? They had so much gold, they stopped the buying power and actually put in a market structure top here, which actually really surprised me. I didn't really think this was going to happen. Now, at the same time, I kind of in the same camp. Remember, okay, guys, we just did this a few minutes ago. Remember we looked at that FCX chart and we were like, what was it that happened around that day that caused that big reversal? Right? And we looked at the copper chart and we noticed that it reversed. Is that this Brexit? Was it Brexit that caused that reversal? Where was that? So that was right here. So we were looking on, say, the FCX chart. You guys with me, or have I totally lost you? I just jumped a couple chapters.
It doesn't look
Were we talking about this like an hour ago? All right, remember this date here? And then we said there was something big that happened in the Freeport-McMoRan. Yeah, that was the reversal low there. And that was the low on the copper itself there. And that actually represents this action right in here. So again, I'd be curious, Thomas, go and find out what, and I guess it looks like here, something happened in this industry right around the, looks like the 4th of April, something in there. Do you see the little market structure bottom that was put in there? Right here. Right, April? Yeah, right. This double bottom was confirmed. That's what put the bottom in the copper in that FCXM, right? There's the Brexit over there. So you are watching, Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, these lows in here pretty closely, eh? Well, you said, where were you going all the way down to? Were you watching 1314?
No, I'm looking at 1302 as a bearish reversal level.
1302, that's down here. Oh, interesting. So that's, I guess, spot price. This is that futures contract, so it doesn't quite correspond.
Yeah.
But that would basically confirm this double top, eh?
Yeah.
So, you see that volume? Those are contracts, not gold.
Right.
The difference between contract, because I can write contracts all day, right? As much as I want. But when it comes to delivery, they can, like, only 2% called in for delivery. So,
right.
There's actually, like, you know, what's it
well,
called?
this is, you know what this is? This is your derivatives chart, right?
Yeah.
This is basically, all this is an asset that derives its value off of something else. And every single day, the open interest in this doing business in this derivative is going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. You're absolutely right.
So somebody's just writing up a contract saying, okay, well, here's your gold, right? I promise you gold in 6 months. Here's another 6-month contract. Here you go. Write that up. Oh, you want some more? Okay, here you go. Right? That's what they're doing. And then, people are buying it up.
Totally. It could be anybody.
And they're going to get hurt.
The interesting thing is, from Jonathan's perspective, he mentioned this earlier. How many of the industry people looked at their balance sheet and went, well, our cost of production is about, I don't know, $700, $800 an ounce. And in their plan, they simply have a hedging strategy that says that if the spot price goes X% above our cost of production, then we must forward sell. So, this is why we go and look at the CAR reports to see who is this volume. Is it the commercials? Is it the people in the industry? Jonathan's crew? that are in their forward selling production and locking in profits, right? And so they can actually keep in business? Is it small specs? And we know if it's small specs doing the buying, right? And remember, we were talking about, what Julian knew the top of the metals market was in when he was walking up and down the halls of Boeing, and people at Boeing were saying, oh, yeah, are you buying your gold? Are you buying your silver? Oh, yeah, it's going to 1,500. It's going to 2,000. No, I kid, it's going to 5,000. Well, I heard it was going to 8,000. Well, I heard it was going to 10,000, right? Blah, 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 blah.
I know. Or, paying $1,500 to wait. I'm like, oh, my God.
All right. You understand the game, right, Dav? Right? Long and short of it here is we'd have to dig into who exactly is doing this business. And, one of the big reasons why we were as bullish as we were of gold and silver back in December, January, is because when we went and looked at the COT reports, they were very bullish. Commercials were getting heavily short, and large institutions were getting heavily long. Remember that?
Yep.
I haven't looked at a COT report. Is it worth our time to go look at a COT report right now? And from what I understand, Thomas, I guess, has been sort of, I don't know, you're losing faith in the validity of the COT report data. Do I get that impression, Thomas?
Yeah, I think it's heavily manipulated.
Why does that not surprise me? But I actually expect that to come out of Dav, though. All right, nonetheless, commodities exchange. Here we are. So let's head on over to the COMEX. So let's look at the gold. And just for let's see what we got here. Okay, so the non-commercials or the institutions, they are basically what? About a 6-to-1 long over short. The commercials or the people in the industry are about 4-to-1 short over long. And the small specs are also slightly longer than shorter, not to nearly to the degree that the big boys are.
I have the chart open if anyone's interested.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Are we breaking new highs and new lows on the commercial interest there? That's interesting. I don't know. Can you just show the large institutions, Thomas?
How do I do that?
Here, I'll load it up.
Just move my mouse down here?
I think you can just select if you go under the... here, I'll do it. I'll just find it.
All right.
Which one is it? Timing chart? I think that's it, right? The gold. And I agree with you, to a certain degree, these are very finessed. In fact, that's why they came up with the Turnaround Tuesday concept. Okay, and let's go COT. Okay, so here's that raw data. Has the large specs broken to new highs on their net long position? It kind of looks like today. And to try and just see each individual camp, if I'm not mistaken, and I used to be able to do this. Oh, here it is. All you got to do is just click on these buttons over here, Thomas. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if I go, I think, yeah, there we go. So let's...
Timing charts.
Small specs. Oh, interesting. Small specs are actually getting out. So maybe the low end of this range holds. Let's see what the large guys are doing. Oh, look at that little double W trying to come in here. And let's see what the commercials are doing.
I think a lot of this is background noise because people are rebalancing their portfolios over the last few weeks because of the uncertainty with the rate hikes and people just not knowing what the hell's going on right now.
Well, I'd also say, too, the end of the summer, right? Pros coming back from the Hamptons, blah, blah, blah. We should probably watch the first couple of reports. And then, of course, we have the U.S. government fiscal year end coming up here at the end of the month. And there's also going to be a big rebalancing in the IMF at the end of the month as well, right? the British pound is getting really knocked down a big chunk. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know whether it's now, but in the near future, I think the Chinese currency is going to be added to their basket. So there are a whole bunch of big rebalancings and stuff going on right now. Yeah.
Aren't they? Isn't the yuan already added?
It could be. Somebody in the lounge posted a really interesting video, and this guy was talking about the IMF was rebalancing their currency basket weightings and stuff like that. And this guy made the argument that Brexit was just basically a cover for them to go ahead and do all those rebalancings. And frankly, I think I agree with the guy. And I think the Brexit was a classic example of there was actually bigger things going on in the background that the big boys really didn't want the public talking about and sort of acknowledging because of, all this idea of, central governments controlling people's destiny and all that kind of stuff.
I just want to update you on one thing maybe that is relevant or not as far as, tidbits. I listen to different shows on SoundCloud, and I'll play YouTubes, and I just try to grasp a little bit of what's going on in the space. And there was a Brit fella that was talking about Brexit, and he was talking about a 2-year process and how there was this legal process that Brexit had to go through to actually play out to reality. And it makes you wonder if it's going to actually happen. Yeah. And then I think of the Greek thing where they flew in the leader of Greece, and he was like, I'm going to punch all you central bankers in the balls, and you can kiss our feet. And then by the end of the whole endeavor, he caved in. And afterward, Max Kaiser actually, I don't know if anyone ever watches the Kaiser Report, but Kaiser actually interviewed one of his
Kaiser Report.
That in the background, they were ready to create their whole own currency system.
Nice.
All back on the old
baby.
currency. And they were ready to put down the gauntlet, and then he caved in, and it never happened. So there's all these interesting things going on with Brexit and whatnot. It's just interesting to hear what actually plays out in real time with that stuff.
Yeah, great observation, Jonathan. We were just joking because we play specific cryptos all around that event. There was one coin, NAUT, that was, they are actually, and we made great money on it. And then of course Kaiser himself has a couple coins, and we had lots of fun trading his coins.
Yeah, I would never buy a Max Kaiser coin.
And 6 months from now, I guarantee you, and Dav and Thomas, you're my witness. Where's Steven? He's usually a good guy. James, 6 months from now, you're going to be like, fuck FA. If the chart's breaking out, I'm just going to go buy it.
That's what we're doing right now. Volume's coming in on the Max coin, and it's not moving up, but a lot of volume's coming in.
I know. I'm just playing a little bit with Jonathan. I don't mean to hurt your feelings or anything. I'm sorry. It's just, we all seem to start out as the most pristine, perfect, rational analyst. No, I'm only going to buy the most perfect, fundamentally sound. I am a crypto. And then by the end of it, we're like, fuck it. I'm going to make money. I don't care.
I'm not lying. I'm not lying, Brian. I told my wife that my whole mindset has changed because I've seen Brian trade coins that are dead. They're dead development coins, and he made a profit off of them, and that completely changed my mindset to averaging.
I didn't mean to do that.
How to apply them.
And that's the irony of what I do, right? Is I literally just go in and buy shit that people just don't want. right? And the statistical odds seem to work out in our favor. So go figure. So. But I don't mean to beat up on you. It's just it's so cute. It's almost beautiful how almost in a and it's not no fault of your own. You're just doing what naturally comes to you. I'm sure Connor and Patrick and any of the other new people that popped in here, they'll think exactly the same way. And as gnarly older traders, and the good thing is Thomas and Dav and James will enter our alumni here. He's entering the level 3. They're like jaded traders now. They just look at we're here to make money from trading, right? Let's just go and make money from trading. But anyway, so it's cute. It's almost adorable. All right, boys. Well, it's getting on 11 o'clock. I suppose I should try and go rest my vocal cords. I did a 2-3 hour class today. Got to do a daily video for you tomorrow. So. Anyway, any parting thoughts?
Can you explain, I mean, this may be a little too much at the end of this conversation, but I've been a little confused about how these pending interest rate hikes haven't influenced gold the same way that it did back in December.
I don't think the market believes that the Fed's going to raise rates.
Is that all this boils down to?
It's like what it is now is the Fed is using its speech as the ammunition. And if that gets the job done, then the Fed's going to leave it at that. And then on top of that, kind of like what we were looking at with the gold, I don't think the gold really wanted to be up here. But the Brexit event injected a little bit of extra price upside action in the marketplace that I think caught people off guard. That's just my hunch.
So what do you think happens to gold if they announce next week that they're raising interest rates?
Well, I don't think they are. I mean, you see the economic data. It sure isn't very strong. We just looked at copper and copper stocks. I can't see how
they will commit suicide if they raise rates. The stock market will tank.
If anything, what I saw, and keep an eye on Japan, right? In fact, how's Japan done? It's the weekday, right? So let's see how Japan's done overnight. Yeah, keep an eye on Japan. Their stimulus packages and stuff, they're getting to the point where the market isn't really catching. They can't, they tried to stop the stimulus packages and the market is just rolling over hard here. Can you see the divergences? I mean, this looks bad, right? And sort of in today's commentary, we're right up against a key trend line right now, but you can see the notches down here. There's a lot of unfinished business here. And if these markets start breaking again, I think you're going to hear from the Fed same thing as before. Well, due to international concerns, like does anybody have a China chart? Are we watching what's happening in China right now? I don't have really a real-time China chart. If anybody has one, it'll be interesting to see. But I'm getting the impression that I heard Australia was getting slammed there the other day. So I think I think you're going to hear more talk out of the Fed that due to international concerns, we're going to monitor the situation and watch the data closely. Punt. And really, does it make sense for them to raise interest rates right in the face of an election? Never. I've never seen that. I've been at this game for a very long time. If they did, they would be accused of trying to manipulate the election.
They are manipulating the election by not raising rates because they want what's her name in, right? Because Janet Yellen will lose her job.
I mean, you could. I suppose you could go down that conversation vein, Dav. I think that the Fed kind of feels like they are separated from that. Maybe Janet Yellen might lose her job, but that's just as the chair. It's not like the Federal Reserve Board is going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. Okay, can I just ask you from your perspective, like, as far as liability from your viewpoint, because you're weathered, tried and true, not that Dad or anybody else here isn't, but you're a weathered, tried and true investor, and you've seen it all. Liability-wise, what does it mean if they raise rates? Because from what I heard, liability-wise, the debt is so big that it just can't. And is that what you're seeing fundamentally too?
Okay, this is just my opinion.
Well, yeah, we all
I
have
don't
opinions.
think
Sure.
that the Fed gives a rat's ass about the interest rate payments that are due. Because keep in mind, the irony of it all is the Fed is actually the one that owns most of the bonds. So they go and raise interest rates. What that really means is they just give themselves a big pay raise, right? But it's all just an accounting game where it's just a ledger from one ledger to another. Me personally, I don't think they are. Having said that, dude, who posted that, Tom?
You like that?
Oh, that's great. Oh, that is hilarious. I got to tweet
like
that out, man. You mind if I tweet that out?
Oh yeah, not mine.
Oh, that
Hey,
is
that was my comment.
You posted that, didn't you?
You stole my stuff.
that is so funny.
I do believe they can.
I didn't see you post that. My bad.
What is it? What day is today? Wednesday?
You can scroll through. I did it like several times
That's hilarious.
in our chat.
In the site chat room?
Yeah, today even, like I posted it.
Oh, I was pretty busy today. Sorry, Chief. Anyway, I'll give you a shout out. What's your Thomas? Do we give ownership of this to Dav?
Yeah, it's not mine.
Give it
I
to
don't-
Tom.
What's your Twitter handle, Dav?
Da Vinci J15.
Da Vinci J15.
Yeah.
Like that? Can you see my screen?
Today's my birthday, by the way.
Oh, fucking A, man. Happy birthday. Oh, I
That's
feel like an idiot. The weekend. Oh, that's bad.
Exactly what they're trying to do.
Oh,
Keep her
yeah.
around.
Did you see her when she slumped over? It totally
I know.
looked like that. Oh my
She's
god.
like, weekend at Bernie's, exactly.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh god. All right, back to your pressing issue, Jonathan. We were about to solve the world's problems, and we got rudely interrupted. Sorry.
You were so close.
I really don't think that the Fed really cares too much about the implications of the debt servicing. But at the same time, what they're going to do is when they do their economic forecasting models, they're going to take into account their expectations of what their policy, by raising interest rates, what that is going to do to the economy. And that in itself may be sort of like one of the moving variables in their equation that ultimately tells them whether they need to raise rates or not. The problem here, this is the real problem, and I've only heard one economist talk about it, and I tweeted it out when I heard it. I only heard it about 6 months ago. And really, I think it nailed the issue. But very few people I've seen have talked about this. The United States Federal Reserve has literally injected into the banking system many, many, many trillions of dollars. It's just literally sitting in the system. And what the Fed is hoping for is for the economy to actually kick in. And by having these low interest rates, it's sort of an incentive for the economy. It's like they're priming the engine, and they've got the pedal to the metal kind of idea. And they're just hoping that the engine catches. But, I don't know whether you've reviewed the demographic information from the course, But the long and short of it is they are fighting a very, very steep uphill battle. The baby boomers are leaving the economy. The economy is shrinking. So there is this constant battle. They need to keep the economy going, so they've injected a massive amount of capital into the system, and it's just sitting there. All of these banks now have the borrowing capital sitting on their balance sheets so that if the economy is alive, we will see the borrowing of that capital, because keep in mind, banks are in business to make money, and that's how they make money, by lending it out to the public, right? And then making a profit on the interest, right? They are all now recapitalized. The Fed has injected all of this capital into the system, and everybody is waiting with bated breath. Is the economy going to catch? Is it going to catch?
It won't. They can't. Because the reason is twofold. And Dav, you can back me up on this on chat. You know, you can't walk out your door in the U.S. and start a business. You need permission. You need to ask somebody, what are the rules? And what do I do to not break the rules? So when you combine that with this banking model that went from lending to the general public and earning interest off that, and they use that capital, that borrowing power to launch their business, when you turn that into, oh, screw you, we don't even need to pay attention to your needs, we have free borrowing power from the Fed at some level, and you combine that with the you can't walk out your front door without running a business without permission, where in other countries like Chile or Ecuador or Costa Rica, wherever you go outside the U.S., you don't need permission to cook meals and sell them to your neighbors. They stifled so much that you can't undo it. So even if they could find a way, Brian, to like capitalize on this debt model, all the other variables that are playing out in the real world around me in Michigan, and I don't know what other parts of the U.S., but it's so hard to be an entrepreneur now. It is just so difficult, and it shouldn't be. The difficulty should be in running your business.
Here's the issue. Wait, slow down. So here's the very simple demographic issue, is that we now have a system with very few producers and a whole shitload of people that are all depending on those very few producers to actually, pay their government subsidies, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all that kind of stuff, right? And in the face of that, government budgets are strapped, and so they're basically cutting back. And what's worse, in Canada, you can't even walk out the fucking front door without having some sort of fee that you have to pay. It's embarrassing how our society has gone. And you're right, we could literally spend the next 20, 30 years mired in this demographic trap. And, as I basically say in the course, the only solution, tragically, is just simply time. It would be really interesting to pull up a demographic of, say, Chile. What is the demographic breakdown of Chile right now? I'd be really curious to see. If you look at countries like India demographically is poised to explode economically. Their demographic curve looks exactly like the United States demographic curve in 1980. So ironically enough, 20 years from now, we might be talking about how India is actually a major global superpower. Go figure. Nobody's talking about India these days, eh? Talk about writing. You can't write better fiction than reality. And they like their gold. So the richer India is, the higher the gold price. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's what I see. What's happening is if gold, I'm not saying if, when gold does its thing, that's where all the wealth is going to be transferred to India and Asia, right? China, because they buy gold. You know what? China itself, both China and India, has seen hyperinflation over 2,000 times because they were the first inventors of paper money, right? So they know this is why it's part of their religion to buy gold.
Yeah. Well, and you know,
intuitively, this is going to happen over and over and over again.
Yeah. So I was a penny stockbroker here in Vancouver, which is a resource market. So I traded lots and lots of gold stocks. And we used to literally watch the Indian wedding season. You could literally, you could almost time the bottom in the gold market on the start date of the Indian wedding season. So go figure, eh?
What are you talking about?
Huh?
What is it that you are saying?
Oh, is that an Indian accent?
Yeah, I love Indian people. We have Indian cuisine here. My mother-in-law dated an Indian man for like 3 years, but yeah, I honestly, Dad, I wonder about gold just because there was a fella that was he was a player in the markets, and he was telling a Bitcoiner why Bitcoin would never take off, and he mentioned banks and how banking is not accessible to a large percentage of the world. And when I heard him speak, I was like, yeah. You know, he's got it right. But I didn't understand that at the time that you can bank on your phone. You can bank on a laptop and a tablet.
There's a lot of cell phones in India.
Ooh. Yeah, so Africa took off. They have their own like crypto coins over there. And they took off because, you know, Africa has crazy stuff going on with currencies over there. And people started using cryptocurrencies.
Hey, do you have like documented evidence of that? That would be really valuable information.
Well, I could gather it if you want, but the point is that everybody has cell phones. You know, when I was in Central America and I'm on the bus, like, holy crap, like on the bus in the mountains of Central America is like a roller coaster.
And everybody's sitting there texting away.
They're on their phone using 3G, but they're on their
Really?
phone. And they can bank on their phone. So they don't have to bank the bank, right, guys? That's what crypto's all about.
Yeah, that's huge.
I wonder about gold compared to crypto the next like decade or two. I do wonder, I could be wrong, but I wonder if gold will become like corn, where you just farm corn and you work your butt off and you make whatever you make, but it's just not that profitable anymore because your demographic doesn't support it. I don't know. I can see crypto like surpassing these old school bullion markets just because of convenience. We live in a world of convenience.
I think, and I've seen what Dav points out, I have seen, you know, like there's quite a, you know, I don't even know whether it's a black market or not, of just simply like phone card credits. I haven't actually seen crypto itself really catch on. But I have seen like, you know, like phone card credits as almost like currency.
Just to kind of play devil's advocate with Jonathan, I don't really see crypto taking over bullion anytime in the next 20, 50 years. There's just so many problems with technology right now, and everything is so insecure. It's just impossible right now to convince average Joe Schmo to start banking using cryptocurrencies when almost every month you have a major news story hitting about an exchange being screwed over or some hacker getting access to someone's wallet. I mean, average Joe just doesn't know how to use a computer, doesn't even know what encryption is. I mean, the kids growing up right now, they use computers all the time, but they're on social media. They're not, you know, learning how to program. They're not learning the basic fundamentals of technology and computers. And I mean, one day it'll happen, but I think we have a really far way to go down that road before any kind of cryptocurrency gets taken seriously by average Joe Schmo.
Well, you're not necessarily wrong technology forward, but you know, like Brian knows where I'm coming from when you talk about technology. Brian had a website in the 80s when people are like, what the heck is a website? Like, they had these big Miami Vice cell phones, if they even had one at all. Within 10 years' time, it was like, okay, here's the Motorola Razr. 10 more years, bam, here's the iPhone. You know, everyone's touching these nice screens, the Gorilla Glass. So, exponentially speaking, we live in a very forward technological society, and I just don't see people having that hard of a time grasping crypto, because I just went to the bar and I grabbed a beer and I started talking to my bartender about Bitcoin, and before you know it, he had a Jack's wallet. I'm sending him $6 in Bitcoin as a tip, and his eyes were huge.
Wow, cool.
What is Arcade City? What is
So you
this?
know what this reminds me of? This is totally what this reminds me of. In the dot-com boom, everybody kind of was hoping for what we see with Amazon today, right? I remember going through that, and at the time, people envisioned, you know, like with drones now delivering packages and stuff. This is what people envisioned, and Amazon went from like a $2, $3 stock to $100 plus a share through that dot-com boom. But at the time, it wasn't there. It isn't what Amazon is now 15 years later. Does that make sense? I kind of think that that's what's going on with crypto right now. And I agree with Thomas. It's almost like we're going to see prices bid up to ridiculous levels on the assumption that this stuff can be used today, but it isn't ready today. This is going to need a good 10, 15 years for everything, just like you said with the cell phones, exact same scenario, where it's going to go from really clunky to pretty good to fucking kick-ass within sort of like 20-year period. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Back in 2008, Brian, back in 2008, my wife and I were in a townhouse, and we had our first boy. And I'm not lying to you, maybe once we drove, maybe twice, we drove to the store for diapers, because all the other times we had Amazon deliver diapers to our house.
Oh, cool.
Amazon what?
All right, so yeah, and that's like your razor scenario, right?
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have a fucking helicopter turning out right outside your window with your damn package, right?
So the point is, Thomas, I'm not trying to be right, but I'm saying that you are technologically like ahead of everybody, but what you see will come raining down on everybody, and they will drink it in. It's just that they don't know that they can.
Yeah, and then I'd also say the question is, you know, what kind of time frame are we looking at? We know that the cycle peak is coming up here in the next 2 or 3 years. So is it realistic that crypto is going to replace the gold and the classic fear assets through this cycle in particular? Maybe not. So I can understand Thomas's perspective. There's still too many baby boomers out there that, you know, like my mother, for example, she's basically a baby boomer, and she's not really overly technically hip, and I don't think she could even wrap her head around email half the time, let alone a wallet or a Bitcoin.
Thomas, I agree with you. I saw what you said about the crypto community being delusional. I think at some level they are, because they're caught in their own passions, and that is kind of like a Achilles heel for them as individuals, because I've been there in my own career in networking in the company I work for. But I would encourage watching some Andre Antonopoulos videos. Yes, some awesome, like, you know, yes, some awesome talks about how he fundamentally just explains how you don't need one coin to be successful in the community, and that there could be millions of coins. It's all about the perception of value. And I really appreciate that. and that's why you're seeing us having this conversation. Like, I wouldn't even be here talking to Dad and the Brian and giving Brian $500 for a class if this perception of value didn't exist. It's growing. So where's it going to be in 2-3 years? We don't know, but we're all like drawn here. It's gravity, and it keeps pulling stronger and stronger. I mean, I'm seeing people that are lawyers and scientists, and they're all coming into space, and they have value. It's very, very interesting stuff.
Again, and I agree. This to me feels exactly like when Nortel was $125 a share with no earnings, right? EBITDA coming out the yin yang, but in real terms, no earnings. And so as a result, when that euphoria of that particular cycle ended, a lot of those pumped up stories, remember Amazon was up at $100, and in the 2003, 2004 period, it came all the way back down to like $5 a share. Nortel didn't even make it. I would imagine in crypto, we're going through this sort of phase exactly like you said, where the lawyers and the doctors are starting to go, hey, what is that thing? What's going on over there? But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're at the point where grandma can use her cell phone to do her banking.
And after Nortel, Brian, you had Sienna, and you had, you had Cisco. Yes.
Yeah, I remember JDS Uniphase. Remember that whole nightmare?
JDSU. You have Juniper now is a powerhouse. No one ever thought anybody would ever.
But do you remember how JDS Uniphase, basically, it was an industry powerhouse, and it literally almost vanished, right? They just barely made it, right? So I think a lot of similarities can be drawn there. And I think basically if we just played this recording back and just sort of took the general tone of what our conversation here is, I think actually we've nailed it. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think cycle-wise, we're right in the sweet spot of the market, but at the same time, we're still very early in this story. And, I often suggest to people, you want to know who the survivors of crypto are going to be? Talk to me after the next recession. Not now, after the next recession.
You know what I want to know is, does Dab have 4G in Chile?
I don't know.
Dab, do you have 4G in Chile?
Yes, we do. We have 4G. I have 4G on my phone right now. It's not LTE, which is different from 4G. LTE is a lot faster than 4G, but we do have 4G here.
Well, guys, it's about 11:30 in the evening. I do have to be up and, relatively cognizant for the crew in the morning, so I am going to hop here. You're more than welcome to, stick around in the chat room, but I'm going to end the recording. Just if you want